Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
My name is Ric Flair, and you represent the National Wrestling Alliance, and you just happen to work for Jim Crockett Promotions, then every once in a while, come on over here, David, the Crockett's dig down in their pockets to show some appreciation for what a real champion should be toting around. And you see, the whole country has heard about it. Now they're going to have a chance to see it. And I'm talking about $40,000. A 24-karat gold, silver, diamonds, and rubies with my name written on the front of it. That's right.
Happy Saturday and happy 40th birthday to the greatest sports trophy on the planet. Probably the Stanley Cup of the World Series. But right now, it's Ric Flair's big gold. 40 years ago tonight, little, 10, 12-year-old me sat in church for wrestling fans, which was Saturday afternoon wrestling, and watched Slick Rick introduce this to the world. Valentines Day, 1986. It was actually pre-taped, but who cares? I saw it on... most of the world saw this belt for the very first time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, when Ric Flair, whose name is on this belt, right there, because he signed it, along with Sting, because he signed it too. Got to meet both of them. This belt came about because of, at the time, Rick Martel had the AWA belt. And Ric Flair had the 10 pounds of gold. Hold on for a second. My mom and dad are going on a cruise, and I set up the... all right, cool. They're on their way. William and Sharon, if you're watching, have a nice cruise. Relax. Stop stressing out. But anyway, Ric Flair had the NWA World Title, which was the Dome Globe. It was the 10 pounds of gold, which it was called. Ric Flair had an ego. And so did Jim Crockett at the time. So they created a belt that was even bigger than that, which is how you got this. Funny fact about this belt is it is made by a belt buckle maker, Charles Carmine. Handcrafted, hand designed this. They made rodeo belts. They made belts for, trophies like that. So when you win the rodeo, they did not make wrestling belts, but they made this one. This belt, and Jim Crockett at the time wasn't sure. He really at first didn't want this belt. He didn't like the design. But once he saw it, he finished the commissioning of it, and that is why this belt, even though at the time it was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, did not have a logo on it because the design hadn't been licensed by anybody. This design is actually not licensed. You can have one of these made, and there is no copyright on it. Now, when I say happy birthday to the big gold, the one I have over my shoulder right now, I mean the legitimate big gold. I don't mean that thing with the WWE logo on it. I don't mean the single-plated one that arrived at the end of WCW with the black strap. No. To me, I consider those, and I make fun of them, they're counterfeit big golds. As far as their design, I hate those designs. There is only one big gold. There is only one design. That is this, the gold and nickel-plated big gold, debuted February 14th, 1986, 40 years ago today. This belt has been synonymous. I mean, it was synonymous with Ric Flair, but other men have held it. Like this, out of the signatures I've ever wanted to have sign this belt, I have two of them. One of them is Ric Flair, the one I showed you. The other one I showed you was Sting, and the other one is Ricky Steamboat, who along with Ric Flair back in February of 1989, up till Chi-Town Rumble and Wrestle War, they fought for this belt in some of the greatest matches I ever saw as a child or as a grown-ass man. So there's only one more. I didn't even want Hulk Hogan's for obvious reasons. I didn't want Hulk Hogan's name. I didn't want. There's only 3 people's name I wanted to sign a belt. I got 2 of them so far. I have gone to events with this. I've gone to WrestleCon with this, but this is out of all the things I own, whether it be comic books, action figures, anything like that. This is my top 2 or 3 favorite things to have around. Technically, it belongs to the Sci-Fi Center, but you know what that means. But yeah, there has been copies. There has been other belts that were inspired by this, but there's only one big gold. If you watch WWE for the last 20 years, you see that version of it is. That version makes me ill. The WWE has been around for decades and has designed some of the most beautiful belts in all of wrestling. The fact that they hijacked this version, even though they purchased the company, you can purchase a company, but you can't purchase what that company means. And without the spirit of all the men that held this belt prior to that sell, it didn't mean anything. Now I know a whole generation has grown up, you know, you youngins, and you only know that belt, and it's unfortunate. That's where you saw that belt, but it originated on February 14th, 1986. I was watching. I was not live because all wrestling was tape delay back then, especially on TBS. But yeah, I have taken this belt. I have taken this belt to events. I have. Let me show you guys. For those of you guys who are watching this show, you know I'm a massive wrestling absolute nerd. I'm not well. So this was the first time I got to meet Ric Flair, and I've always told this story that at this point we didn't know he was not signing anything until we got there and he walked up. And the reason why he could not sign anything that day was because he was contractually obligated to other signings, and once you do that, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to just do them, willy-nilly. So, that kind of sucked. But I would not give up. I would meet him at WrestleCon last year, and I would get that belt signed. And I have the pictures up here. You guys have seen them before, but yeah, I have framed pictures that I'm sitting right under where I met Ric Flair. And like I said, growing up, Ric Flair. You had 2 of them. You had Hulk Hogan and you had Ric Flair. Ric Flair wrestled for the NWA and later WCW, which was in smaller territories, but he was widely considered the actual better wrestler. Hulk Hogan got more commercial success, but a lot of that had to do with Vince McMahon. A lot of that had to do with time and place. A lot of that had to do with things that had nothing to do with wrestling. Hulk Hogan blew up big after Rocky III with Thunder Lips. And then you had Cyndi Lauper, Captain Lou Albino. So there was a lot of things. All due respect to Hulk Hogan for the icon that he was, everything else. But he got a lot of boost from a lot of things around him and being at the right thing. Ric Flair made his notoriety on his own without Hollywood, without any of that stuff. Whenever you saw Ric Flair and you saw this belt, you knew you were watching. Even though you had the bigger organization in WWF, you knew you were watching the best wrestler in the world, because the best wrestler in the world, for the most part, held this belt. Now, WWE and WWF would get more wrestlers that Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, guys like that will become singles guys, and they were more technically sound than a lot of the 80s rock and wrestling guys. That would change, but they always had the gold, the Winged Eagle, a belt that I have not gotten, but that is the one that Hulk Hogan debuted in February of 1988, and that belt would be the gold standard. Shawn Michaels would hold that belt. Bret Hart would make that belt famous, but I feel the same way about that belt as I did. I would never want to see that Winged Eagle anywhere but WWF. And I don't ever want to see this design anywhere but the NWA WCW. Once WCW was over with, they should have retired this belt. But yeah, it's a beautiful belt. I hope the light is hitting it the way it needs to be. But yeah, this is this belt right here was made from the cast. Of course, Crumbline, I did think made the cast available, and belt makers all over the world can make their belt. Now, the one you saw in the picture, if you're looking closely at that, they haven't taken me down for showing it. Who knows if I'm still alive? That belt has Ric Flair's name on it, and it's spelt with a K. Ric Flair goes by RIC, so that's the only appearance where that belt had that misspelling. And the next time you saw it, it had this spelling right here, which is the RICFLAIR. He had it so long during that era that he didn't. Whenever someone would beat him, I think the first person to beat him for this belt was Ronnie Garvin. All they did was take the nameplate off because Flair was going to win it back. So whenever he lost it, like he lost it to Dusty Rhodes, I don't believe ever got a nameplate. Only Ric Flair had the nameplate. It wasn't until Sting beat him for this belt where Sting would get the nameplate. Even Ricky Steamboat, who beat him in Chi-Town Rumble, did not get a nameplate. The nameplate actually, if you look at that ring, every time he entered the ring, it was a flat nameplate with no name on it. Because the belt at the time was synonymous with the height of Ric Flair country. Now, once Ric Flair would leave WWE, or not NWA, WCW, he actually, back in 91, 92, left with this belt. Because whenever you won this belt, you put a deposit down on it that the company held in case, they didn't want you leaving with the belt. So when his contract was up, they never gave him a deposit back, so he left with the belt. And that's the whole... the infamous showing up on WFTV with this belt, and they had to blur it out. Eventually, Crockett, Turner, and WCW sued, and they got the belt back, and he got his deposit back, and he would go on to win the Royal Rumble and be WWF champion. He would come back and hold this belt a couple more times, but for the most part, during the 90s, Hulk Hogan would hold this belt, Sting would hold this belt, Lex Luger would hold this belt, the Giant would hold this belt, Goldberg, other than the Sting, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair, Goldberg in the late 90s made this belt fit. He actually made it look really good. And he's probably one of the only other signatures I would ever want on this belt. But yeah, this was the belt. This was it. This was the gold standard. And it is hold on. It's Saturday, 5414. You guys know what that means. Thanks. That burger time. We'll get to that. But, yeah, this belt, the cast was made, and up until recently, you really didn't have the ability to make these for fans to be able to get, because it was just way too much. But here it is. It's rare. It's a 3-plate one by 3 plates. The main buckle, the 2 sides, the one over my head. It's made, this is on leather, but the original one is just made on basic leather, and the bolts come through. You know when you're seeing the real one because the bolts come through, because the designer never really cared about you seeing the other end of this belt. The original belt now sits on the shelf of Conrad Thompson, which is Ric Flair's son-in-law. So the belt stays in the family. Scott Steiner was the last wrestler to actually hold this belt on TV. It was falling apart at the time, and it would be replaced by a single plated, which all gold, a little bit smaller belt, and that was what they would use for the remainder of WCW's tenure when Booker T would win that version of it, and then Chris Jericho, and then because WWE did not want anybody using that version of the belt, they didn't want a belt out there that they didn't have a copyright control over. They put their nasty logo on it, and to me, putting any logo on this belt is like smearing shit on the Mona Lisa. That's how I feel. I know other wrestle geeks feel differently, depending on what generation you're from. If you're from the younger generation, it's probably that's how you feel. But for me, from the old school generation, watching this belt emerge, watching it, become what it would become, this is the only acceptable version. So, happy birthday, Big Gold. I'm not going to sing happy birthday because I think that's even copyrighted. All right, guys. So let me get to you guys here. Oh, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. For those of you nerds with cohabitors, happy Valentine's Day. All right, Clone Avenger. Did you see Method Man? Gave a shout out to Absolute Batman. Yes, I did. I also saw Guillermo del Toro with the Martian Manhunter, which that's suitable for the way he tells stories. Martian Manhunter. I would love to see him do an adaptation of it. I know we're probably a ways away, but yeah, I did see both of those. And he is 100% correct about Martian Manhunter being utterly captivated. It grabs you, and you have to pay such good attention to that it really unfolds in a way that's very entertaining. So yeah, that's going to be some of the things. So topic number 1 is what we got off with a happy birthday to the Big Gold. We're going to discuss a non-spoilery DCKO number 4. We have a tournament winner. I'm going to let you guys spoil that on your own. There is a winner of the tournament to face off against King Darkseid. I also will let you know there's a caveat to the Absolute Trinity being in there and why they're there and whose control they're under because they're not in their right minds. Also, we are going to talk another 40-year anniversary is going to be Top Gun. I can't believe it's been 40 years. I saw that in movies, and Top Gun and Tom Cruise has for the most part remained ageless. Top Gun was big for a kid like me. I was, my uncle was in the Navy. I'd been on an aircraft carrier by that time. I walked around in Norfolk, Virginia with him. I had cousins that were Marines. My dad was in the Air Force, living on Norton Air Force Base. Rest in peace to that base. And anytime a military movie came out, it was a family thing. Platoon, it didn't matter. I was third generation military myself. My grandfather was in World War II. My dad was in the Vietnam era. My uncle is the same way. His sons are all Air Force. I mean, it was, so military movies were big. Top Gun was more than a military movie. So we're going to talk about that. What else did I have on my little cheesy thumbnail? That is pretty much. Oh, we're going to watch the Spiderman Noir trailer, and we're probably going to get knocked down for that. We're either going to get knocked down for the Ric Flair segment I showed you, but I had to show you that because that was what I was watching 40 years ago. And we're going to put our sound issues to the test with the wingman, speaking of Top Gun. Say something.
Hi, everybody.
All right, is Brad echoing? How do I sound, guys? By the way, I am on. Listen, I have made my adjustments. I am on really good internet now because we got good internet at the store. I'm on a better computer. I have tuned up the mic. I should be sounding like a king. Hopefully, I don't sound like Kermit. And the worst thing is Kermit in like a box. That's the one I hate. So hopefully, we got on that. Also, I really like Spider Noir trailer. We're gonna get to that. I recently read the first Spider-Noir comics and really liked them. How do you feel about it being Ben Reilly? It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't bother me at all because there are so many different circumstances. Got my burgers on my phone. There are so many different circumstances that apply to Spider-Man Noir that or Spider Noir as the official called. I'm okay with that. It's not. It doesn't need to match it for hold on. Okay. They say I sound good. They're not sure about you yet, so we'll have to give that a little bit more time. So yeah, no, that doesn't bother me at all, and that story is so drastically different that it's fine. It's fine. I love the trailer. We're gonna get to the trailer if we're still in the air. If WWE, who owns that footage now, hasn't knocked me down. Big gold WCW heavyweight title, maybe the best looking title. It is. It is. I am torn though, because there are times when you guys know that I'm big into New Japan wrestling. I am, I stay up at all hours of the night to watch it. And the version 4, which I have over there, which is this one right here. You guys will see me with hold it. Is this one right here? Here it is. That's it right there. The V4 is probably one of the most beautiful belts ever made. There it is with me and Jay White. And I have the U.S. title in order. But like I said at the beginning of the show, when it comes to things that make me happy, I could be having the shittiest day in the world. I mean, it could be, like when I come home or I come wherever this is sitting, all I got to do is look at it, and it makes me feel better. Just knowing that this is within arm's reach of me at any given time, or that I can go somewhere and I don't ever put it on. I put it on the very first day I got it, just for a picture, but I usually just have it like this, or it's sitting on top of the case there. This belt just, not only is it the prettiest looking thing out there, it just represents the era that got me in deep to wrestling. So I have to agree with you there. And at the time, it was the NWA, and then that whole thing would happen as far as Ted Turner buying it and creating something else. All right. The U.S. title with the American flag on it. Maybe it's the second one. There's a couple of U.S. ones with the American flag on it. So, yeah. There's the original Intercontinental one. That's also a legendary belt. That's what always bothered me about WWE is they had the ability to create their own belt and make their own mark. There were WWE, WWF. For this one, for them to put that logo on this one and use it as their belt, it just wasn't. It was kind of lazy for me. I don't know. I know the belt meant a lot, but once you had to stick your logo on it, it's not the same anymore. Counterfeit's the kindest word I've ever had for it. Hello, Duckman. Last night nearly killed me. Elevator's broken, so I had to climb stairs. I wanted to... Oh, is that when you went to go see Rocky? By the way, Clayton, for everybody who's ever been here, I'm in the process of most likely they're putting me downstairs this time because the elevator issue is just not going to get fixed. So they have told me, asked me the other day, this might take longer than expected. Would you consider moving downstairs? And I said, yeah. And I already know the spot that I want to. So there might be a weekend where I don't do shit on YouTube because this is going to be real quick if it goes down. In fact, the background is going to be the same because I knew for quite a while that we were going somewhere, or the possibility is that we were going to be going somewhere. So everything I built here was built to tear down and get out of here. And most of it has now been built to go up and down without an elevator because now I got to go downstairs. All right, let's see. Okay, you guys were talking about last night. It was fun. Yes, it was fun. Other than the cast and my friend, I was still the master of Rocky Horror call-out lines. Yeah, I wonder if you did something that might have gotten you kicked out of most places, but that's fine. So enough. William, your calendars, I heard a brand new day trailer maybe in March, and I can't believe we're halfway through February. Yeah, next week is the 20th. I mean, we're already literally smack dab right in the middle of February. Next month is March, and I'm pretty sure that's when the Goblin Thief comes to steal my hour. Hello, Jogo. What's going on? Hunter Iggy, long time no see. Question, William, are there rumors going around the internet that Paul Anthony, Kelly, Jason Momoa, girlfriend are considering? I have not heard those rumors at all. I have not heard any rumors. I haven't heard any talk about who's playing Batman yet, or Wonder Woman. And anything that comes out, I'm probably not going to believe it. But let's put it down. I'm not going to believe it until James Gunn announces it, or whoever the director is. If it's If it's Muschietti, then when he announces it. Otherwise, everybody's just doing rumors and stuff. I'm done chasing my tail. And I will never retire. Yeah, he's talking about doing another match, and I'm like, dude, come on, man. Let's not. Let me have the memory of you not staggering out with this belt falling off your waist. Don't need that. Are you talking about the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the current one? Because if so, I hate that belt with all my heart. But I'm wondering which one you're talking about. If you're talking about that one, no. I consider that belt one of the counterfeit golds. That is in my classification of counterfeit big gold. Yeah, Stanley Cup. But as far as wrestling goes, as far as physical sports goes, as far as like throwing somebody around, this is going to be it. The Stanley Cup is a holy grail. I don't even consider that a trophy. That's more than anything. $10. I wish. The World Heavyweight Championship belt looked great on everyone who won it, except from Dewey from Scream. Oh, you're talking about this one. The big gold, the crumb rind. I call it the big gold or crumb rind because WWE calls their phony version of it the World Heavyweight Champion, and I just highly doubt that you got this one on Temu. You may have gotten something on Temu, but not this one. Trust me. Let's see. William, would you have paid money? No. I actually was watching live when he did that, and I hated that. Because he did it on the actual original belt, the one that Ric Flair held. He did it on that belt. And I was always thinking, that shit ever going to come off? And obviously when Goldberg won it, it came off immediately. I think when Sting won it, because Sting beat him after he had spray painted NWO on it, and evidently they knew what to use to get it off, and the paint that they used wasn't something that was permanently going to adhere. Let's see. How you doing, Dan? What's going on? Already taken care of. It actually came in at the beginning of the show. I ordered it to time it. And Fat Burger, come on, guys. You got the email. You know you need to be sponsoring the show. I don't want money. All I need is this every Saturday night. Same time. It's like clockwork. And I know my two queens made this. Because when I picked it up with my fingers, I almost had to regrip it. See, I've gotten to the point where I know who's making the burgers. I know who's there by the quality. I can smell the quality through the bag.
That's good.
Shut up. It's a fucking disaster, a real disaster. I'm out of chocolate ice cream. Are you high already, dude? This is early for you. All right, we'll get to some. No, I would not mind him doing Absolute Martian Manhunter. There are properties in that story, and Savit, you're telling me, Porth, you haven't read Absolute Martian Manhunter, and if you're saying that, at least that's a good guess on my part. If you're telling me that. No, but that movie was stupid. When I went to deployment, the people were playing that movie, and it's ironic because that movie was shot at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where I did my basic training. So the only notable thing about that direct of a film is the fact that I recognized everything in there because they actually filmed it in the battery where I did my training. They did it in Charlie Company Bravo battery. I could recognize it because it said it right on the wall. Let's see. Hold on. William, remember Medusa threw WWF in the garbage on WCW and Vince got really upset? Yeah, he was more of a pill like that. All right, guys. So let's do this while I put this belt back where it needs to go. Hold on, I had it set up, but when I did my sound test, I turned everything off. We're gonna go ahead and watch this damn trailer. This the one. Make sure we got the other one. Okie dokie. Hold on for a second. Edit. I know for sure this is going to get us taken down. Now you're taken down or demonetized. One of the two. All right, guys. I've seen this before, so you guys go ahead and watch this while I put the belt away. All right. I am impressed. I was already looking forward to this. I'm definitely looking for it, and I haven't even decided whether I'm going to watch it, which I'm going to watch it first, color or black and white. Because that black and white version reminds me a lot of Sin City.
Yeah, I love they're giving that option. And see, of course, we're going to see the suit, but also see Cage with his face off.
Okay. Sure.
Let's go, Aaron. Aaron likes it.
Not everybody has seen Face Off. In fact, you may not have even been born if you were watching this.
That's
so,
hold on
for a second.
I was one of Nick Cage's biggest hits of his early career. So.
Yeah, but that's 30 years ago. What are the settings on your mic?
Read things on Amazon, so
they actually have to care about it, but maybe they did.
It's possible. So.
Yeah, but desire to see something makes it real. Check your functions on your. Are you you're echoing again according to Clint?
I mean, I got echo cancellation yet.
And I have mine off because it lowers the quality of my sound. Like, hold on for a second.
Did we already get fixed the other night?
Yeah, but I have to. But if you listen, I was sounding like shit the other night, even though we weren't echoing. Hold on for a second.
Black and white reminds me of Justice is Gray. Yeah, I can see that. But that's a little bit more like baked in. And well, now I don't think I'm echoing. That's a little bit more. This is a little bit more baked into the character. Spiderman Noir. So kind of like part and parcel of him, and that's Justice Gray is a little bit more like William took off, so it's just me by myself. But yeah, it's a little bit more like it's because that version was in black and white for so long. They say I'm not echoing now. So William, when you come back, I'm not echoing. That's Frankenstein, Clint. Yes, as a lot of people pointed out, Nicolas Cage, he has now played Spider-Man, Superman, Ghost Rider, and was a Batman variant. Who was he again in Kick-Ass? Let me look that up again real quick. It's been a while since I did Kick-Ass. Big Daddy, okay. Yeah. Again, it's like his costume is kind of like a modernized, like Adam West Batman. That's Forrest says, "Forget that Tom Holland guy. This is good. It will join across the Spider-Verse." Okay, Forrest excited. Forrest is definitely excited. Well, no, there's going to be hype once they put out the trailer, which apparently is coming pretty soon. Definitely going to be hype for that. By the way, are we still playing, guys? Because we played the clip, so I hope they didn't take us down midstream. Sounds like we still are, because I'm still seeing you guys in the comments.
All right, I put my echo cancellation on, but like I said, it's affecting the.
They say I'm not echoing.
Okay. I don't know. All right. Well, we'll just move on. All right. So I liked it. I thought I'm looking forward to it. Like I said before, I wasn't the biggest proponent of that Spider-Man when I first heard about it. Any of these Spider-Man, Spider-Punk, all that, and all that changed with with Into the Spider-Verse. That's when I started caring about Spider-Punk, who I didn't get two shits about, and prior to seeing him in that movie, and for the most part, seeing Miguel 2099 wasn't big priority for me too. But after that movie, you start to see backstory of the character. You start to see them in different different points of view and different contexts. So now I am there when it comes to
Well, like the main ones I really, as far as like the alternate Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse movies, like the main ones I really, as far as like ones I wanted to see cinematically for the longest time, was like it was Propcar, for Spider-Man India, and Ben Scarlet Spider, and we've gotten those to varying degrees. So as far as like wanting to see like spin-offs, either animated or live action from that, those are the ones I was most kind of like interested in. So Spider-Man Noir, I was kind of a little bit, it's like I don't know if I'd say indifferent, but it was kind of, it was like, okay, like you got Nick Cage, and so it's like, that's as much kind of like your marketing hook as that's an alternate Spider-Man. But this looks pretty intriguing. I'm looking forward to it. Again, and that's really going to give it a novelty. The fact you can watch it in both color and black and white.
Yeah, I've never been a big Nick Cage fan. I don't run from Nick Cage, but he's never been why I would ever go see a movie.
One as who's pointed out up here. Yeah, Sana points out he's the only actor to play Spider-Man, Superman, a Batman variant via Big Daddy and Kick-Ass, and of course Ghost Rider. So
officially, he has not played all those, but yeah, sure, fine. But no, I thought his best movie was City of Angels. I thought the movie he won the Academy Award for, I was like, what? He won for Leaving Las Vegas, and sure.
His undisputed in my book, his undisputed best movie is the one where he has to take his face off.
Okay, I thought that movie kind of sucked. By the way,
are you serious?
Yeah,
I
think that's one. I'm serious. I think that's one of the most overrated movies to come out in the '90s. That and Broken Arrow, or whatever they were, because that was when John Travolta was just getting roles.
Yeah,
that
was the one with John Woo.
Yeah, and I thought that movie fucking blew. But you know what? That was years ago. I thought Face Off was a joke. I thought the gimmick was played out literally about 45 minutes into the movie. The gimmick was old and it was stale. And those two couldn't carry that movie acting wise at that time. I like John Travolta in certain roles, and Nick Cage. I'm going to give him he's an Academy Award winning level, but I've never seen a movie where I'm like, if I switched him out for somebody better, that the movie wouldn't be better. That's just how I feel about him. And that's generally every movie. And Face Off wasn't a movie; it was a gimmick. It was a gimmick that they put up on the screen. And I'm like, it's just like FX a decade before. It was basically a gimmick, and you loosely built a movie around it. But that's just my opinion of it. So I don't think of Face Off. I don't think of when I think of Nick Cage, I think of I think of City of Angels. I think of Raising Arizona, some of the movies of his earlier career. But I've never been like, wow, he's in it. It's not like a Denzel type situation for me. But if he's in the movie, I'm not going to be like, oh, shit, here comes that asshole again. Nah. Because usually, he's good enough in them. He's, to where it's like, okay, this is perfect for him. He's basically playing himself with superpowers.
Yeah, kind of like in Face Off.
No, what? Stop bringing up that movie like as if it's some great fucking achievement. Anyway,
one of the best.
But no, I am not the hugest Nick Cage fan, but I am looking forward to this. Him in this.
The option of color and black and white. I'm kind of curious, like if they're gonna like release data and like okay, like what in terms of like hours watched, like what got the most, like where it was more viewed in black and white versus color. And I mean with this character, I mean the black and white is kind of baked into the essence of the character, so it's kind of the the color is sort of like it's almost like it's an olive branch of people who are like they just can't take black and white as far as the
Well,
text.
and that's most people. Unfortunately, most people will, if they have the option, will watch color because that's natural to them. Um, but others, the fact that it's what it is, to where it takes place, and what type of movie it is, it's appropriately black and white.
And this is why I kind of hope that they and I think they probably did, especially with like modern technology, like they filmed it in such a way where it's like the color version is not going to be like the colorized version, because I absolutely, those are always like, you ever see those where it's like something that was black and white from like the 60s and they release like, oh, here's the colorized version. That's always really
Wizard of Oz was Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz was shot in color, but it was earlier color. But yeah, when they do the Technicolor over it, and it looks real bad because back then they didn't have the technology. Now they take technology is way better. They can do it to where it's not looking like it's like 3D or some shit. Let's see. If Warner Brothers are really that scared, they're not. Give Amazon the damn rights to make a Batman Beyond. Nobody's going to make a Batman Beyond. Just out of hand. It's not about being scared. Everyone should be scared to lose money. Amazon could absorb the loss better than everybody else, but even then, their reason and their rationale for doing projects is to get people to Amazon.com. And you actually have to have an audience in order to do that. And once again, we go into the trap of people who watch Batman Beyond thinking that everybody else watched Batman Beyond. And it's just not the case. And even if we were going to do that, it's the same reason I always give. If it's not if Batman is not Bruce Wayne, you're going to run into the same problem as Captain America not being Steve Rogers. The general public that you need to support this is just not going to buy that. And the audience that exists on its own right now is microscopic in comparison to what you would need to justify spending any money, even if it's just going on streaming. Amazon's not going to do anything low budget. Doesn't matter where it goes. That did not look low budget. Blade Runner 2029, I've seen that is not low budget. Amazon doesn't chintz on the budget. Lord of the Rings, that stuff, if they're going to do it, and that's really one thing I like about Amazon, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it of high quality, and they're not going to cut any any corners on that. So that being said, if you're going to get something high quality and expensive, do you have the audience to justify the traffic with Batman and Beyond? And the answer right now is no, in my opinion, or else you'd have it already. They exploit these IPs in bringing every dollar and cent out of them. It's no accident that we haven't had and several administrations and several different ownerships of Warner Brothers.
They tried to get one on in the early 2000s. They tried to make one in their. I'll read it right here. It's on Batman and Film Wikipedia. This is like all the attempts to do another Batman movie between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins. So in 2000, Warner Brothers oversaw a live-action adaptation of their animated TV program Batman Beyond. They commissioned Boaz Yakin and Batman Beyond co-creators Paul Dini and Alan Burnett to write a draft, but found the direction unsatisfactory and severed further commitment. Little else is known about the project. The filmmakers involved seldom discussed information in interviews with the media. So ask Paul Dini about why that. It sounds like it was like one of those, like, if it was like put on a press release, they would just like say like director or writer departs over creative differences kind of thing.
Yeah, and like I said, you can come up with whatever reason that you think it might be, or somebody might tell you it might be. It's all going to come down to, is this worth doing? And it's just not right now. So, yeah, I don't think what's about Warner Bros. I think any company should be scared to waste their resources on something that might not go. And that's Amazon, that's anybody. Like I said, you have different degrees of being able to absorb it, obviously, but nobody wants to waste their company's money. Let's see. Can't wait to see Spiderman in a trench coat. Love me some trench coat.
Yeah. We're talking about something, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be. You don't hire Nick Cage and not tell him not to be Nick Cage.
Well, he can't be anything else. That's one of the things about Nick Cage that has always really never turned me on, he doesn't. There's no range there for me. You seen one Nick Cage movie? You pretty much it's like Kristen Slater after Heathers. You pretty much got the same guy, in my opinion, in every movie. And sometimes that works. Sometimes that's what people come to see. But if I'm coming to see range, I've never really had it with him. The one movie he showed the most range was City of Angels. Because in Leaving Las Vegas, he's Nick Cage. He's the same Nick Cage that you would see in generally any movie.
See, this is one of the reasons why I praise Face Off so highly, is because he has to play two different people in that. He has to play Sean Archer and Castor Troy. And you see the like date
really, but sure.
The hell he doesn't.
Yeah, whatever. Like I said, that's not. He
starts out as the bad guy. He becomes the good guy in the end, and they are a night and day between them. We are absolutely doing a watch party of that.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
What else we watch party of one is Mission Impossible 2. The undisputed best Mission Impossible movie.
I'm not even going to get entangled because you know that's nonsense. So I don't need to tell you that's nonsense. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell our audience. If you've seen the Mission Impossible movies from 1 all the way up to 8, 9, 10, and you think that number 2 is the best, then that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Kicks off on vacation. This is even a mission. Okay. He's on vacation climbing a mountain. This is what he does for fun. This is what he's doing on holiday.
Chinatown is film noir, but it's not. I mean, you're talking about something that's a period based too. Like yes, so yeah, Chinatown. I don't think Jack Nicholson would have allowed that shit to be.
Oh, here's a good one from Droga. Yeah, because this is actually pertinent. Because let me see if I can find the announcement.
Yeah, but Jason Statham doesn't depend on range. He's not. I'm not paying when I go just down to lay down my money for Jason Statham. I'm not paying for him to be fucking, John Lithgow or somebody, some top tier. I'm paying to see Jason Statham beat the shit out of people.
Well, now you're literally paying to see Jason Statham be Jason Statham
because he's going to play himself.
He's playing Jason Statham. Jason Statham is set to play Jason Statham in Jason Statham Stole My Bike, a new action comedy from Bullet Train director David Leitch. I gotta say, though, this sounds like a nepotism hire. I mean, nobody else could have played Jason Statham better than Jason Statham. Come on,
that's a given. But even still, I'm not gonna go see that movie.
I can't wait for this. This is gonna be awesome.
I'm gonna go see that movie, but I'm not going to see it because I'm looking for him to open up a new dimension in acting for me. He better be doing the shit that I come to see Jason Statham do, or I'm going to get up and walk out. And I don't think I've never been disappointed there. So, audience, Batman Beyond has an audience. It doesn't have zero audience, but it doesn't have the audience to justify spending millions of dollars on it. Everything has an audience, but you got to realize, I mean, when there are shows that I've watched and loved and had to come to the reality that just because I watched and loved them doesn't mean everybody else watched and loved them. I mean, we just lost Terminator Zero, a show that we all agree that was a great show. Couldn't get enough people to watch it. Same thing with Raised by Wolves. You have, just because you like something or I like something doesn't mean there's tens of millions of people out there watching it. And eventually you can only ask somebody to spend so much money on something before they have to move on and stop, blowing the resources. You may think it has an audience, but does it have an audience big enough to justify spending someone else's money on? And that answer, since that has gone off the air, by the way, it only had 3 seasons. It's not like we're talking about Married with Children, went on for 30 years or whatever. In the 3 seasons of that, even if you go by and triple it, does that justify spending the kind of money? Because you're going to get one of two things. You're going to get some trash that doesn't look good, because you're not going to spend the money on it. If you spend the money that is justified, you're going to get something that might hurt you in the future of getting anything. Or it has to be justified to be, to be able to at least draw traffic. In Amazon's case, you don't really even have the box office scenario because they can justify it other ways, but you still have to justify the traffic. And my question is, Azteca, and anybody else who's always telling me that Batman Beyond is imminent or should be imminent, I mean, how are you justifying it? And it can't be just because you feel good about it. I mean, I feel good about a lot of shit that I'm never going to see more of. And whoever is going to do this is going to, We don't even have a live action Miles Morales. And there's far, far more justification for Miles Morales live action movie than there ever has been for Batman Beyond. And we're probably, in my opinion, 6 or 7 years away from that happening. Because you still have Beyond the Spider-Verse, and you still have other things that they're going to do, and then you still have to figure out where you're going to put him while you still have your Spider-Man, who would be his contemporary within a few years. So I don't, and plus you have to decide whether Sony is ever even going to allow that to happen. So far, it's no. But if there's anyone that from the animation to live action has made the case, it's Miles Morales, and we're years away from that happening. So how are we going to go with something that the work has been done to something the work has not been done? It just doesn't, unless, and I've always said this before, you do have a crazy person running DC right now, and I mean crazy in a good way. He could just say, fuck it, we're going to do it. That's it. That's all you would need was a studio head to do it. And at that point, I'm assuming he would have enough wins under his belt to be like, oh, they'd be like, you know what, this sounds goofy, but you got this and you did well here and you increased this here, go ahead. That's your shot outside of everything. But if anybody else has to think about it, no. I mean, I don't see it happening anytime soon. I'm surprised you even know that song. What the fuck? I just don't want to see Michael Keaton as Batman of any sort ever again. Listen, he was a good Batman for the three movies that he was in, if you include the Flash. But you're only bringing him back for another time that we don't live in. If there's story to bring him back that was based on, his relevancy as Batman, I can understand it. But they're not going to do that. They're going to bring him back. Because remember back when you were a kid, he was Batman and how you felt? The kid, if you were born on the day Michael Keaton played Batman, you're 37 years old now. I'm literally trying to sell you a Batman as you roll into midlife. I'm trying to sell you a Batman from a time you weren't even on the fucking planet. And they thought that was going to work, and it doesn't. And that's not a knock on Keaton as Batman, but it's not 1989. And I don't want to see him as any version of Batman. If you do Batman Beyond, get somebody for that role. There's plenty of guys in that age group that you could that will fit the role. Because the 1989 Batman isn't Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond. Totally different character is how it's been written. So by the time that they do this, there will be plenty. Hell, maybe it'll be Pedro Pascal. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't that whole scenario. And then that's what really turned me off about the whole Batgirl situation. Other than the fact what I saw of it was like, okay, sure. I had already given up on the decision making of that particular company and those individuals to the point where I wasn't surprised to see something the level of Batgirl come out. And I saw the costume and I'm like, no. So yeah, you don't want to end up with that. When it comes to Batman, that year one, Bruce or Batman. Hold on. Okay, Batman, Bruce Wayne or bust on the big screen on live action series, but it's okay for characters like Spider-Man to get multiple universes and different. They did the work. We've been building Miles Morales' reality since 2011. Miles Morales does not have a live action. And if you're talking about the multiple universes that are Toby, Andy, they did the work. They played Spider-Man on the live screen. And the story fit what they were doing. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is one of the most successful comic franchise ever. All right. And even if you don't like 3, I didn't like 3, it's still... Andrew Garfield, both of his movies made $700 million plus. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Pascal and all those guys just wanting to put their head in Marvel's orifice as quickly as they could, who knows if you would have got a third one from them. But you had a complete Spider-Man. You had Tobey Maguire established as Spider-Man 20 or 18 years before No Way Home. You had a Andrew I've been blanking on his name. Stan Burgers, fucking with my head. Do 2 movies that made $700 million plus. One of them was pretty good. Amazing Spider-Man was pretty good, in my opinion. So where have we done that work with Batman Beyond? I'm not saying it can never happen, but you just got to be realistic.
But this is where I think people like make the counter argument too, where it's like when they hear that, and then every time they propose something with Batman Beyond, we hear why this can't proceed, and so it's like
but the why is
there's this catch-22 of like, well, it's like, well, how do you expect the character to get big enough if every time we try to pitch something, it gets locked down?
No, catch-22 has 2 even sides to it. There's no
even sides. It's like they try to say, let's do something with the character, and every time we're told the character's not viable to proceed.
That's your reason. Listen, you don't have to like
how are they supposed to do the work?
Okay, but here's
every time they try to do the work.
Well, here's the problem. You don't have to like the answer for it to be the right one and for it to be true. If the people who have all the information in front of them has said this character is not viable, there's no 22 to that. You can't determine the audience size. You can wish one, sure.
But you can't determine the audience size if you don't make the effort to discover the audience size.
Yeah, but I'm not spending dime fucking shit on something with the current viability on Batman Beyond. There's just no way. Nobody in their right mind.
How do you expand the viability if every time people suggest
expand
the viability, we're told no?
You get a couple $1 billion and you fucking fund it? Because
every time, no, this can't proceed because there's no ground.
Which that's not up to you though. You don't have the money.
How do you make the ground fertile if every time you're told?
Well, first of all,
you try to make the ground fertile, you're told you can't do it.
Millions you don't have. You don't assume that your decision making.
This isn't assuming. This is telling. This is saying. No, it isn't.
Okay,
this is saying. Let's find out if this character can go further. But every time they try to, and I'm not even like a big gung ho like that. I'm just saying like this is the argument from the other side.
That's not an argument. That's a fanboy wish list.
This is not a fanboy wish thing. This is absolutely asking.
If you sat down with somebody who actually
proceed with the character, how are they supposed to?
Can't hear both of us. If you sat down across the table with somebody who matters with that fanboy bullshit, you deserve to get laughed from the table.
The hell it is.
You deserve to get laughed from the table.
This is not fanboy bullshit.
What is your reasoning for me to invest?
This isn't.
Hold on. I'm going to give you devil's advocate. I got $1 billion.
What I'm asking devil's advocate.
You're the person that's going to come in, and it's your job now to convince me to risk this money.
But what I'm asking is devil's advocate.
No. What is your pitch? If this is going to be an argument,
I'm not talking about with a pitch. My question is like if every time they're told, we're pitching something on this.
Okay, but what if
they're told we can't do this because there's people that are telling you all right? Then how do they?
You're making the assumption that the people that are telling you it's not viable don't have a right and the information to tell you that. Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean it's not right.
But that's not fanboy logic. That's a legit.
That's fanboy logic. When
the hell it is.
If you're trying to assume an argument, you're trying to put yourself on the same equal footing as the person risking the money and knows the IP. There's only one executive in that conversation.
If you're asking them to make a pitch for this, and every time they're told they try it, they're told there's nothing to go on here. It's like, hey, how do you expect me to Miles Morales?
You have your answer. You literally just
answer. That is not an answer at all.
That is your answer.
That's not an answer.
There's nothing for them to go forward with.
But how? But again, what you're saying is like they can't. They've flourished Miles Morales, and I'm asking, okay, well, if you're asking people, you can't do Batman Beyond unless you've done something comparable with it. But every time they try, they're told we can't do this because you haven't done a Miles Morales level cultivation of that character. Okay, well, how do you expect them to get the character to that level then?
Well, first of all, that's the right answer. And once again, not to be flippant, if I'm in the corner office and you came to me with that bullshit, I'm throwing you out. I'm making sure the staff. I'm making sure the staff has your picture so they don't let you back in again. But here's the thing when it comes to Miles Morales, and there's no comparison. And if there was, I would say go ahead and do it. You got 2011. All right. You did the research. You got video games. You did all those things. Now, my question is, even on the comic book level, which is where the comparisons between Miles Morales and Batman Beyond shouldn't even be made if we're being serious here. But let's just do it for argument's sake. you don't have a record of viability for Batman Beyond even on the pages. Where that's where you started at with Miles Morales. You started building a history of Miles Morales. You saw success there first. Miles Morales' viability came from the Ultimate Universe and its sales there and its popularity there. And from there, they moved it forward. From there, they moved it to video games. From there, they moved it to movies. So you don't even have that first step with Batman Beyond. So you're going to come into an office. There is no pitch.
The hell there isn't.
Based on what? Do you have any of those things? Hold on. Do you have any? You just asked me about Miles Morales. Do you have anything when it comes to Batman Beyond? We can't keep talking over each other. Do you have any of those things that I just listed in the sequence I just listed? No, I'm talking about the sales wise and the popularity wise.
But it's been done in comp form. It's been done in action
figures. No. Has it been done successfully?
Yes.
You have the numbers.
Not on me, but I mean, it's been done successfully enough to cultivate a fan base.
Okay, you don't know what successfully means then on that level.
Okay, I'm bringing up fourth comment here because it's exactly what I'm thinking here. It's like, again, it's like, this is what I'm asking. Like, if you're asking people, okay, we can't proceed with this without.
This might be your Hall of Fame bullshit. This might be the dumbest fucking thing you've ever typed on here.
No, the hell it isn't.
I cannot believe. In fact, hold on. I ought to send you. I'm kind of tempted. I don't feel like it tonight to send you a link so that this doesn't look as bad.
We need to get
because you guys are listen. 1,000 fanboys doesn't mean shit to one executive. Because guess who gets to make the decision? Guess who has the research? Guess who has those numbers? I don't have the numbers on me. That's bullshit. That's not good enough.
But again, how do you expect them to make a pitch like, let's go forward with this, if every time they're try that, they're told we can't proceed with this because there's been.
I just gave you all the reasons. You just don't want to hear them.
Circular reasoning.
You don't want to hear them.
It's circular reasoning.
It's not a circular reason. You're not being qualified to comprehend that.
We're not going to do this.
No, that's fanboy bullshit, dude.
Hell, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's not fanboy reasoning.
You just admitted that you don't have the numbers to back up whether Batman Beyond was a viable enough success in the papers and stables.
Level where
your argument was done there.
With that, but every time they try, it's like they're told, "Well, there's a non."
So you think those people have better numbers in front of you than those people do?
That's not the point. That's
the point. Is the point?
The hell it is. The hell it is.
That reaction is fanboy bullshit.
It's not fanboy reaction. This is asking.
No, it's not reaction. It's bullshit.
No, it's not.
It's worse than reaction.
You're telling them they can't go forward with this unless you have done like an expansion of the character of the IP. That's
they don't even have. You know what, Brad? They don't even have to get to that point.
Shot down.
They don't even have to get to that point because you know what? Before fanboy squeezes his way into the office with absolutely no hold on. Before fanboy skips in there with no fucking qualifications whatsoever to make an executive decision, okay, they have already gone over the numbers that you're guessing about. They have already researched the viability of the step one that you're thinking about. You're guessing at shit. They know shit.
This is asking why is.
I just told you why. Yeah, I just told you the mindset.
The answer is horseshit.
That's not up to you. That's why you're not the executive. It's not your money.
Horseshit.
Unless you can shit this movie out of your ass, then that's the only answer.
But the answer is horseshit. The answer is going to be called horseshit because that's what.
Okay, they don't have to give a fuck about what you think either. That's
this isn't about what I think.
That's the answer. For those of you who are asking, listen, guys, hold on. And I need to timestamp this because that's one of the more ridiculous things you've ever typed on my screen.
No, the hell it is.
Okay,
before this bullshit. Before this is not it.
This is in the Mount Rushmore.
No, it ain't. This isn't.
Listen, guys. Listen. Stop. How you feel about shit doesn't always mean shit. So whatever fucking angers you doesn't mean it gets the gears rolling where the money gets spent. There was tons of stuff that I would love that to be the case of. I'm still waiting for Mindhunter Season 3. And I'm probably going to be in my 90s before I get that. I want that to happen. I think that to happen. It's not my money. It's not my company. And when I come in with my reasons I want it, and I don't have any money or any viability behind it, I deserve to get kicked square in the nads and rushed out by security. There's a time and a place to have that type of conversation. But when you're asking yourself the question that literally answers itself. At some point, somewhere, the person who would make that next step in terms of viability has looked at numbers that we do not have access to and said no at this point. And when you're comparing it to Miles Morales, which I rightfully did, they have positive numbers going forward with everything that they've done with the character.
But as Fourth points out, there was a time when Miles Morales wasn't like a household name. And again, like, how do you get the character?
You're talking. See, once again. Okay, first of all, so for those of you times, what these two gentlemen are saying, the one in time, is fucking bullshit.
The hell it is.
His reasoning is garbage. Not you as a person, for his reasoning is garbage, and I'm going to tell you why. Whether it was a household name beyond the first step, it had already been successful before there was a next step taken. Miles Morales was doing very well as a character, as an IP, all the way up to the games, all the way up to the things. That, whether you knew him as a household name is one thing, they had a level of success to go from. That they had those numbers and said, this is a viable character. We now know that we can take a step at the very least in animation or anything like that. Not ready for the silver screen yet, as far as live action goes, but we have enough data to make that step. So whether it was a household name, whether you non-comic persons knew it as a household name at that point, wasn't relevant to the immediate step that they came from. So on its face, what you just typed was nonsense.
No, Fourth
was nonsense.
No,
right?
Fourth's spot on here.
No, he's not. Both of you were fucked up tonight.
No,
that's
again,
fine.
it's like
that's fine.
Somebody in the comments address the question. If
you don't no. I've addressed the question. You guys just don't want to hear the answer. That's not that. Listen, that doesn't make an answer wrong. You not being able or unwilling, because you're both smart guys. You not being willing to accept that reality is not the wrong answer.
It's a matter of what's being presented doesn't make sense as
but what qualifications do you have to dispute that?
Reason and logic.
Okay.
Understanding is horseshit and not.
Keep going. Yeah, you may get it right tonight. Okay.
That's the only answer I need, because that's the only answer required.
That's the only answer of fanboy. That's fanboy.
It's logic.
That's fanboy. That is not. That is fanboy logic.
Fanboy logic. It's logic.
That is sitting at the no risk table, at the no stakes table, with no money involved in it, with no job involved in it, and trying to guess what the guy inside the glass office is thinking.
Again, everybody.
I doesn't care.
Here's the question.
Listen. You can. I don't know. No.
If you are trying to pitch something, and you are being told, okay, you can't move forward with this unless it's built to a certain level, and then every time you try to proceed with that,
but if it didn't even so in order for you to dispute that, you would have to have Batman Beyond's comic sales numbers.
No, it's just reason. It's pointing out the circular nature of the argument. It's like
this is a circular conversation because for fans there is no logical end to it.
Fanboy logic. It's logic.
You have no ammo in this.
There's no ammo. It's like it's logic. Logic. It's no fanboy
logic.
What the hell
that is not logic. You guys are giving an opinion. You guys are giving an opinion based on.
I'm pointing out the hole in the argument, which is a massive
hole.
Not
an argument. Argument has to have two sides. There's no argument.
It has two sides.
You don't know. You don't know what they have in front of them that made that determination.
And I'm asking, okay, if you want them to prove that there's viability to this, but they can't do that unless it's cultivated to this level. But every time they try to,
guess what, Brad? Keep cultivating because obviously we're not at that level. Do you think these greedy motherfuckers would not jump on this shit if they could get cash from it? When have these greedy bastards not done the greedy thing?
Plenty of times. Hollywood is littered with bad decision making.
What major IP like that has the viability that you guys think this has not been attacked, ripped up, and not done well sometimes?
That's not the point. That's completely irrelevant because what we're pointing out here is the whole.
No, you're trying to put yourself in the suit and chair of somebody who would make this decision. That's like me launching
And I'm
fucking
pointing
rockets
out
at
the
NASA.
law and the logic, which is
You have as much you and Forth have as much qualification to do that as I do to launch satellites in outer space right now.
that is so bogus.
No.
That
And
is
you're
beyond
proving it right now with the lack of whatever you guys are trying
I'm
to
pointing out the
forward.
law and the logic, which again,
No.
nobody is
Like I said,
beyond
you guys right now are proving that you have as much qualification to make that decision as I do to operate on your brain right now.
Not in any way.
That's where this is going.
Apples and not even apples in the
No,
word.
it's not. No, it's not.
Apple, not even apples.
Do you have the data to support your argument? It's not even an argument. Let me rephrase it. Do you have the data to support your point? It's not even an argument. So how are you going to say that's irrelevant? You're asking somebody who spent money, their money, not yours, on just your on a whim. On a whim? Oh wait, I got a good feeling in my ass that this is going to be successful.
I'm going to have to give you here because this isn't even a matter of greenlighting it. It's asking, okay, if you tell them they can't go ahead with this unless it's
if I tell you, if I'm DC Comics, man, if I tell you that at DC Comics that Batman Beyond didn't sell enough for us to make the next step.
But I'm pointing out, if your argument is this is not
an argument. I'm telling you, if I told you that if I'm Marvel and Marvel said, you know what, we saw the numbers of Spider-Man after Ultimate Fallout, we saw the numbers and the hype and around that character, we could go forward. But if the DC person looking at that, or the publisher, the money person looked at those numbers and said, you know what, we don't think there's a foundation here yet to go forward, that's your answer.
And then when people say, okay, let's do X, Y, and Z to build the foundation, but they're told there's no foundation.
Get another comic back on selling, dude. How are you going to progress this character when the only data they have is a 20-year-old cartoon and a comic book that maybe didn't sell?
This are told you can't do this because there's no viability, but every time they try to build viability, they say
Who's they?
Is the studio we're talking about.
They're not going to go forward if the foundation that it's on is not even solid.
If every time people try to build the foundation, they're told you can't do it because there's nothing there.
Who is they? There's only one they that matters.
That's who I'm talking about. And again, I'm pointing out you
just don't want to believe them. That's fine.
It's not a matter of not believing them. It's a matter of this argument has a gigantic hole in it that I'm pointing out.
We're going to move on because you guys are literally, if there was a comic book conversation equivalent of chasing your tail to nowhere,
hell it is.
This is it.
Again,
this is it.
Circular logic with a huge hole in it that I pointed out.
This is coming up with some bullshit when you know you'll never have to pay the price.
Bullshit, and I'm asking, okay,
man, I was thinking, make this. Let's make that. Oh wow, why aren't you doing this? Oh wait, you want me to pay for it? Oh, never mind.
Okay, I got a pitch for this. It's like, okay, make this work, and then we'll move ahead with it. Okay, I'm trying to
make it work. Brad, you come in with a pitch for something that I'm not doing well with on the platform it exists on.
Okay, so how we can expand this. No, we can't do that because it's there's too much risk involved. Well, how do you expect me to get it big enough to expand it then?
Well, guess what? Sometimes the answer, how many times have I said this? Sometimes the answer is no, and you just got to shut the fuck up and ask again at a better time. Sometimes the answer is no. It's a 2-letter word. It's real easy. Sometimes the answer is no, whether you want to shit rockets about it or not. Maybe there's another time. Maybe there's another place. As of now, Batman Beyond off the air from 2001 maybe? So we're a quarter of a fucking century, and I don't think it's an accident why people who have the access to this information haven't done it yet.
William W. said back in 2000, Batman Beyond was very popular and profitable, so you're telling me they were lying.
On the scale that you're trying to make a live action movie, fuck yeah. And guess what, Rational? I love you, man, and thank you for the $5 superback. And I hate to simplify this. It's not 2000. Everything about everything has changed since then. So, yeah. There's a difference between something, and it was still on the air at that time. To be honest with you, it was not that the audience that was going on then wasn't that big. But anyway, let's say it was big. Let's say at that time in 2001 it was great. Not great enough for them not to go after it. And let's go past 2000.
Let's make it greater. We can't do that though because it's too small. But so we can't again. Circular logic, giant
No,
hole
it's
in the middle.
not. It's circular because you lack the
It's
outs
the
of the circle.
catch-22.
You don't have the qualification to get out of the circle.
I have
They
qualification
do.
to point out illogic when I see it.
As a fan,
that.
that's great.
As
That's
a
like
fan, as
me.
a
That's
thinking
like me
person.
sitting in the stands at Dodger Stadium saying, "Why did you throw that curveball?" The
That
fuck am
might
I
be
doing?
one of the worst analogies I've heard in my life.
No, it's not. You're not
I'm
qualified.
qualified to point
You
out.
don't have the
sense
information that
point.
matters.
This doesn't.
You have an opinion, and that's
This
wonderful.
isn't an opinion. This
You're
is
as qualified. You're as qualified to
illogic,
enact
which
that
this
opinion in the
is.
real world as I am to tell the Dodger pitcher not to throw that splitter.
I'm qualified to point out when something doesn't make
No,
sense.
that's not a qualification. That's an opinion.
No, it's not an
That's a
opinion.
fact.
It's me observing reality and
You
saying
ain't running shit.
this is circular logic.
You don't have to answer to somebody when you lose their money.
What's that have to do with anything? I'm
It does
pointing
do
out.
everything.
It does
You
not.
realize this is real money.
Not the question.
This
I'm
isn't a
asking.
fucking game.
And
This
the
is
question
real
I'm-
money. People lose real jobs when
this
stupid
isn't
shit
about-
goes south.
No, that's irrelevant to the question.
You
I'm
go
asking.
on about your day, and all these fans going about their day. When somebody fucks up like that, they don't get another shot at it, and it messes up other projects.
Again, the
But you
logic
need to know you can't be in your circle. You have to come out of that circle and
this
come
is
with some qualifications and some numbers that
Yeah,
they
I
have.
have them. It's called having eyes and ears, and
Okay,
the argument I
alright,
heard is
alright,
horseshit.
Like I said, in that when you said that was a horrible analogy, you have as much qualifications to apply. You can have that opinion, but you have as much qualification to apply that opinion to something that matters. If I do is going out on the space station and taking it over and saying, guys, I got some better ideas. That's how big a gap between your qualifications. As a fan and I can respect the opinion, but once you try to apply that opinion to some shit like that, it's ridiculous.
It's not
It's ridiculous.
because the argument people are being.
There's no argument.
is
There's no
horseshit.
argument. How? Okay. If a nuclear physicist was coming in the store and I decide I want to have an argument about that, I'm gonna look like a fucking fool.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not qualified to have the argument.
this is light years removed from
No,
that.
it's not. He knows shit. I don't. I can guess about. Hold on. I can guess about how physics work. My guess ain't. I wouldn't take my guess any further than this damn table.
Yeah, but this thing is.
You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. That's
I'm
acceptable.
pointing out the logic they're being presented.
No, that's not logic, Brad. It's guessing.
It's not guessing. It's horseshit because the logic doesn't function.
Thank you for the $5 say back. Listen, guys, you want to go with logic? Where is it? These people are in business to make money. Where is it? The studio is saying a lot just by that reality. And I'm not wishing you guys. I'm not the enemy of Batman Beyond. Listen, let it come out. If there's an audience out there that will make this thing money and will go see it, have at it. Be happy with what you have. You guys are asking. I don't even know how this even came up, but why we haven't got a Batman Beyond, because the data most likely doesn't support it. Remember what I said about greed?
And again, like, how do you get the data? If people are pitching on this, how do you get the data to support that?
But you're assuming that it would be successful even if you applied that, though. I mean, and that's not your decision. Maybe if they don't want to double down on something they don't think they're going to make money off of, whose decision is that? Yours or theirs?
But again, that is catch-22. That's circular reasoning.
No,
Absolutely
no.
is.
It's like there's no argument there.
Yeah, there's no argument there because the argument doesn't make sense.
It doesn't have to make sense to you.
It doesn't make sense at all. It's not
It's not a court case.
to me. It's
It's not a
matter
court
of-
case. They're not competing for anything. There's no jury. The jury will be an audience that they may think was there, but they have information you don't have. You're fighting blindfolded with two hands behind your back.
Also mishandle that information.
Now you've been inside their office and been inside their books.
That's not the point. The point is that
That is the point. You're basing if you can't tell me yes or no on that, you're just guessing.
This is a matter of yes or no. This is a matter of the
You're
argument.
just guessing. You're throwing a dart. Wow, that landed. And that's okay, guys. That is okay for us to do that. But at some point, as fans, we reach a wall of actually doing shit, paying for shit, and what we want. There's a wall there. And we ain't getting through with just passion sometimes. Or else, like I said, I got a list. I got a list of shit I want to see right damn now, if that's the case. Where's it at? I'm not. If it comes out tomorrow, guess what? We'll
So,
play the trailer on the
the
show.
argument that something's not viable is purely the fact that it hasn't been made.
It's not even an argument, though.
That's like you can
It's
say
not
that.
an argument. See, if I know shit and you don't know shit, there's no argument.
Yes, but if you know shit, but what your conclusion you're drawing from it is flawed, that's what I'm pointing out.
That's you. So what? It's still that is there no the right answer is the one of the person who
Right
has to
answer
take the
is
risk
the
on
right
the money.
answer, which is like
You're just guessing.
it's not guessing. It's
Yeah, it is.
This is flawed logic.
You don't have anything. The lights are out. You don't know what the fuck you're pointing at. 'Cause you don't know what the numbers are.
The hell, the lights are out.
You don't know what the numbers are that made them say yay or nay on any of this shit.
What is that?
Period.
But again, that's not the that.
You can't, no, stop that. You can't dismiss that. You cannot dismiss that.
The hell, I can't because that's not the argument I'm
Oh
making.
my god, this kills me as a fanboy myself to have to say these things. Anyway, what else is on the thumbnail?
Okay.
And like I said, and for you all, as we're going to move on to this, for those of you all who've been waiting for 25 years and will probably be waiting for much longer for Batman Beyond, I hope you get it tomorrow. I don't get any extra money off of you not being happy. I hope you get it tomorrow. I hope James Gunn jumps out of his bed, does a cartwheel to his computer, and types Batman Beyond, and you guys can start the guessing there.
And by the way, it's like on that like kind of angle of it, and I don't know, this is like might be like a segue into the their topic. I'm actually starting to get dubious that he's going to be sticking around long term. So if you're placing your hopes on him,
that's the guy though. That's the guy who can come out and just say, "Fuck it, I'm going to do it." Because as the studio head, he's the guy you have to make the case to. But he's crazy.
And
he's crazy.
The reason I say that is like, hey, like looking back, like when it was like 2 months ago when this merger started, and he and Safran got their contract extended 6 months while everybody around them got like extended 3 years. That's a little ominous to me. And even I think you even said the same.
Yeah, I am trying to talk myself into a different mindset because if I'm not going through this again. Once if this happens again, I'm just gonna. There's so many other things to watch besides DC stuff. I am close enough to where it's like, okay, another couple of good outings here. I'm gonna want to see more and more from you over the next couple of years. And if you're not on stable footing to even be around, or but that's why I like the Netflix deal for the stability of everybody, because Netflix doesn't have a James Gunn. They don't have any of these people. Paramount would flush them all out down the toilet.
Well, yeah, but they're run by another crazy person, but he's crazy in a bad way. And then there's the other angle of it too, where he again, I'm sure. Oh, it's a good looking burger there.
I wish I could force slap you every time you came up with that.
I had some levity to it after the Batman Beyond debate there. But then there's also like Gunn himself, like stuff he said and he hasn't like said like, oh, I'm jumping ship in like a year and a half or anything, but again, he's like given comments where he's expressed like, okay, it's like I don't know, like I'm sure we talked about it a while back where he said I don't know like how sustainable this is long term, and that's more like in terms of him just managing the workload of like I'm making movies and TV shows and I'm also co-running the studio. And I remember thinking when this started, it's like, I mean, that's a lot for one person to take on. I mean that
he needs to delegate though. I mean, that's the big thing about him. He's no longer just a director anymore. He's a studio head. So you have people. By the way, guys, here's a DCKO number 4. Standard comic 11.
Is that I'm a little bit behind on? Are they that's what that was 4?
Yep, 4 just came out this week. And it's just putting it down. My arm, my muscles in my arm just did something weird because it weighed the right.
What, the burger? Or
comic book? There you go.
That is a dish.
At the beginning of this, when I had my belt on, I was talking to God about Ric Flair, and this came through. You saw my face light up. Because I could smell it coming.
William, I'm not even like joking here. Like, do you check your blood pressure after those burgers?
Yeah.
Because again,
it's not high. The Starbucks will kill me before anything else.
Because I mean, that's like, I don't know, and I can eat like a whole pizza by myself. It's like I don't know if I could take down one of those by myself.
The fries don't have salt on them, but that's good enough. But I also work out too. So there you go. I'll burn this off. This done. Yeah. This is adding this is adding two extra pounds to me that I will have to get up. I will have to do the crunches. I will have to do the sit-ups. I'll have to do all the stuff.
Rogan just randomly typed the raid. Okay. I agree with you.
Okay, what? Any particular reason? Or
yeah, no, it's like, I mean, I like the movie, but I mean, so how is Batman Beyond like the raid, Brad? Not in any way that I'm aware of. I mean, the raid came like 12 years later, so
yeah, but the raid is within its justification, though. The raid is within the success rate that you would be able to say, let's do either more, or here's where I can screen this, or whatever.
It's not based on anything either. It's just like you just wrote a script like, here's cops in a building fighting bad guys.
Yeah, that's not a risk. But you're talking about the Fury, the one you're talking about. They're going to put that where it doesn't hurt them because they know the numbers. And I can go and say, hey, why don't you put the Fury on fucking IMAX and all that?
Here's a little bit of history too. I mean, as far as this is like on the behind the scenes business. So, and again, this is like the the business side of it. So, Gareth Evans, the director, like he and Iko Uwais, the first thing they did together was called Marintow, and then he wanted to do a movie called Barandal right after that, and he's talked about the problem was he was like going to investors to get the money for it, and the investors, like, they would only, every time they went to them, they would only agree to like put up X amount of money if it was like equivalent to 50% of what their budget was going to be, but what they were offering, like, it was never going to be enough for them. So he put that on the back burner, and then they did the raid together, and then he kind of took the idea. It's like, oh, the raid's a big hit. Now I can how about I take my Barandal script and I retool that to make that the raid too. So that's how that came about. So like Barandal basically got greenlit on the back of the the success of the raid. So the raid was kind of like a backdoor pilot for that. So it's a little bit like business behind the scenes kind of trivia for that.
Connection. There's a connection with somebody. That's fun. I just hate Batman. Actually, no, I kind of like Batman Beyond. To be honest with you, I didn't like Batman the animated series or the previous. But
and by the way, going back to my thoughts on it, like, because I need to make it clear. It's like I'm not like everything I was saying earlier. It's like I'm not saying that like somebody who's like massively advocating for like a Batman Beyond movie.
No,
I'd see it if they made one, certainly, but but like my argument was not like coming from like it's like my number one thing I want DC to do is Batman Beyond. That was
no, and then my argument against it isn't out of like what he's saying. No, I actually like Batman Beyond. It reminded me of Blade Runner, but me liking it doesn't make it viable. Now, there's a better question here. No, so I don't hate. What if the pitch is great? Now, okay, you make this great pitch. You're gonna need, and say if the pitch is great, but the numbers aren't there, you're gonna have to have, like I said, you're gonna have to have a connection. You're gonna have to have somebody that can push it through. You're gonna have to have the audience of like a James Gunn or a director that just wants to do it. Or you're gonna have to, do something low that was low budget. I'll give you an example. Plus, it's also the era that we're talking about. See, if we were in like the 90s, the early to mid 90s, where they were looking for comic book characters, but not ones that they had to pay good money for, like a Tank Girl or a Crow, where they could just, they could get these IPs and they can go. They didn't need to have great numbers because the numbers for Tank Girl weren't great because it wasn't widely available. And the Crow, nobody even knew what the Crow was until Brandon Lee died, unfortunately. That's a sad thing to say, but it's true. So when you're talking in a different era with low level characters, you probably would, even now, if you were gonna take a non-risk character, and at that point of their careers, the Crow and Tank Girl would be the perfect examples of things that if they didn't do well and that they weren't going to drag down anything, they weren't recognizable enough to really make that determination. But that's a different thing than putting Batman on it. Whether it's Batman Beyond or Batman anything, and putting it for wide release and on movies. Now, what they should be doing, and this is what kind of scares me about its viability, is there's a reason, in my opinion, just my opinion, why we haven't taken these steps. Because they're looking at where they're at right now, and they just don't see it. And I don't have the numbers, outright to refute them.
But actually, by the way, to kind of interject, that's also what I was saying about Gunn earlier. That's also where I'm getting a little bit. I don't know if dubious is the right word, but they played up like we want to do Elseworlds, we want, and like Batman Beyond is like it fits. That's the perfect thing to do as an Elseworlds. Okay, where's the stuff being announced for Elseworlds? So, like, other than the Batman franchise, that's really the only thing they've done that's Elseworlds that's been, and that even that was like that was already like baked into the studio.
It was already there, yeah. You inherited some of that. So. I don't know. I like I said, I want to maintain a neutral, because if I start drifting to that other mindset of where I've been when it comes to DC, no matter who's running it, I might as well just give up now. But I am keeping myself at arm's length of it. I'm not getting too close to the explosion to get burned, but close enough to see it, but not close enough to get killed by it.
Like what you said, like, let's just get me the lanterns. So
get me the lantern. Now that you keep moving that explosion down the line.
When are we going to get the trailer? We just vaguely, like, sometime. I mean, I think it's safe to say it's going to be between Supergirl and Clayface. So my guess would be like July, August. But again, that's all we can go on right now.
Here's what I would do if let's say I have no numbers to support doing Batman. I have no numbers, but I got it here in my ass that says, you know what, I think this could work. Because animation, you're asking them to do animation beyond, that's really expensive. See, Sony knew through several different means what they had with Miles Morales, so that allowed them to spend, because those movies are expensive and they're only getting more expensive, even for movies. And now they're making money.
Animation, these are like hand drawn.
Yeah. Now, if we could do something like, let's do some shorts. Let's do some 5-minute shorts, right? Let's do a series of 5-minute shorts spread across a certain amount of time. Put them out everywhere. Let's see where the viewership is. Let's start out by like just doing, like filming them all at once, but splitting them up into 5 minutes. So you get one cheap block and you put it out there. Let's see where the audience is. Now we have data. Now we can break down who's watching this. How old are the people watching this? All right. And then we do something else. We put out one action figure. Manufacture however many you think you need to make that distributed. So 50,000 is, which I'm just throwing a number out there. So 50,000 is what you think that the number of threshold you means. We got something here. All right. Then after those sell, you do another series of shorts. And now after those do well, you bring back a full half-hour cartoon on like an Adult Swim or something like that. You know, you're tracking that. And over the course of maybe 2 to 3 years, 4 years, you're tracking that. Or, like I said, you could try to put out a comic, but I don't think that's going to do well, because I don't think that.
Well, Aaron had something in the comments. I can't find her comment. I was going to bring it up while you're saying that, but she likened it.
Star on it, man. Whenever there's a comment that you want to come back to, put a star on it.
Yeah, I never remembered that. But she kind of likened it to like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. They had like short films that were dropped on YouTube, and that led to their web series getting greenlit. Street Fighter Assassin's and Mortal Kombat Legacies, but they each had a short that kick-started that. So that's similar. And those are both, well, the Mortal Kombat was Warner Brothers. That was not Street Fighter, but again, that's I get the comparison, Aaron.
Yeah, just you have to have something there to make it basis to whether you're going to spend millions and millions. Because I think the budget for the Spider-Verse movies is not cheap. It's not cheap.
Let me look that real quick.
It's
they're definitely over 100 million.
It's in the 70 to 80, and that might not sound like a lot of money when you're
that.
I'm minimum. I was just saying minimum. It's probably 120 something. But
Spider-Verse. Okay, that was the first one was 90 million.
Which, by the way, for animation, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's across Spider-Verse. It was 100 to 150.
And that's because of what happened with that one, because they're possibly 420 something, 400.
No, that did way better. Into the Spider-Verse.
What did Into the Spider-Verse do?
That did 394, and then which is pretty damn good.
That's good for animation.
And then Across the Spider-Verse, that was a real breakout. That did 690, so that did almost 700.
That was 10 million away from
almost like live action
numbers. Yeah. So I'm not, listen, with anything that you want to do, let's just take it off of Batman Beyond. If there's something that fanboy wants, we got to build a bridge to the people who make it happen. And my opinion that they should do it is worthless. It's worthless. I need to walk in there with a stack. Like I said, we'll bring it to the controversial Snyder topic. All right. The way people go at that is so foul sometimes. It's like I would never want, as somebody who would want to see that, I'd never want to see you in my office because of the way that people go about it. Now look at Absolute Batman. Especially some of the people who are like live action or nothing. I'm like, I would love to be with you with that, but actually I'm kind of more on the papers and staple side now. But here's the thing. Absolute Batman will be on somebody's big screen or on some other platform besides papers and staples long before any of the Justice League stuff that we like ever has a remote chance. And that doesn't mean I don't like it, I don't love it, or anything else. But there's a case being made right here. So when people tell you, oh, it's live action or nothing, no, please, get those papers, get those staples, and put it out there. Then when you walk into the office, now I don't have to be an executive. If I walk into the office and say, hey, boss, why ain't we doing an Absolute Batman, whatever? And I got 10, 11 printings of #1. I got 500,000 sales every month or just this one comic. I don't need to be an executive because the case speaks for me. That's anything you're trying to get a company to do. You got to the case already needs to be made for you, or you need to be ready to say, there's the numbers. Here's what this would work. Here's what this would work. Here's how much. And here are steps. I'm not saying you just go ahead and throw 50 million on whatever I want. I'm saying, let's start with a crumb and see if the rat eats the crumb. Our next step, 3 or 4 crumbs. See if not only does that same rat come back, does he bring other rats? Results, and you build it up. And like I said, Miles Morales is there. Batman Beyond is not. And for whatever reason, I'm not privy to that information. But I'm guessing to the point where they just don't see the viability in it yet. But anything you want, you got to have a financial case, unless you're the one with the money. Now, if you're the investor, you're the person footing the bill, then yeah, you do whatever the fuck you want. But in order, these IPs belong to other people. And the money to push them belongs to other people.
Drogo wants me to bring up his one comment. I am writing a sitcom at the moment, and Brad's one of the characters who works at the pub and likes to stir. Okay.
I mean, without the pub, that's pretty much what it is. But all right.
No, that's Zack Snyder. No, I'm not the pot stirrer. That man. Oh, and fourth, yeah. Because I called a bit of the box stream last night. You guys were talking about like all these AI clips floating around, and there's one with Darkseid and Superman. And actually, I did kind of want to talk not even so much about that one specifically, but because I mean, there's reactions have been kind of all mostly negative, dude. Like that Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt one, that was pretty much kind of tarred and feathered. And because really, it's like all they've really kind of seen with these right now are just basically kind of like these short little fight scenes. And which really robotic looking ones, to be honest. I mean, it's not, they're not particularly, really good.
Notice, by the way, in the AI conversation, I was pretty quiet because I don't know what to think yet. So,
I kind of don't either. But like, and when it comes to like the Superman Darkseid one, there's also like other ones like with Thanos and Captain America and Wolverine, things like that. Because the ones like the Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise one, that's again, people are kind of coming down on that because it's like, yeah, you're this isn't like recreating like grounded, realistic action. Like,
I did say something about that. Okay, I remember.
But then the ones with like all the superhero ones, that I'm a little bit more kind of torn on because it's like I get the consternation people have on those, but also like for things like that, to create stuff like that, it's like there's going to be like some artifice and like computer generation anyway. I mean, it's like you can't realize stuff like that because without CGI, because it goes beyond human capabilities. So that I'm a little bit more torn on with with those where it's like, I mean, they would kind of be doing something in the vein of this anyway, like if they actually made it. So,
but it's who's making it, who has the right to. That's the thing. Where, like I said, I was talking about last night, is when it comes to this AI thing, the scary part about it was in any new technology we're going to have, where it's going to come no matter whether we want it or not. We just have to be ready for it. But the regulation has to be there. So if like the example I gave last night, if I do something with Junkie's likenesses without his permission, there needs to be a lawsuit that bankrupts me, and that
Well,
needs
and
to be
there's,
president.
I mean, the other thing about it, it's I think one thing I find kind of a little bit encouraging with it is like the AI is like, because everybody's looking at these like immediately, they can tell they're AI. There's just like a uncanny valley.
Hey, sometimes I can't. Some of that shit is that's what bothers me. I'm watching a trailer. I'm like, wow, but when does this come? Fucking AI, and I get pissed. That's why I probably kind of hate it now because I've seen shit that I kind of want to have happen, and there's some AI trailer coming out, and I'm like, oh, somebody did a Mindhunter trailer, I think. Somebody did a Mindhunter season
in this
like
wave of all this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then at the bottom, they didn't even say they were AI. It got taken down. They didn't even say that they're AI. There was somebody in the chat that had this, or in the bottom, this is AI. There's no, and I look, no announcement. Stop doing that.
Stop doing that. I mean, it's gotten where it's like you're really like, the way I'm, they've gotten good to like approximating like human likeness and movements, but that's all it can do right now. It's like every time I see, it's like I can I look at any one of these clips, and it's like, oh yeah, that's AI.
That won't always be the case though, and that's where you're gonna have problems. And not everybody has the same level of intelligence to be able to discern that. It may fool some people, and if it fools one person, and that's where, like I said, there needs to be regulation in the laws. The same law, the same when you get copyright infringement, the same thing that happen if you take my licenses and you do something out of my will, that's not representative of me. I should be able, and they should make the laws favorable to the litigator to absolutely fucking destroy that person.
Well, and that's another thing, an angle of what I was thinking about too, is like that. That's like if it can like if AI can like replicate like somebody's like that, if it can replicate somebody's likeness, where it's like you see, if somebody could like make like an AI version of me and like put it on screen right now and fool everybody to think like Brad's really here when I'm not, if it can get that good, that's where I was thinking the other day about like that's gonna really like that's gonna drive the legal, that's gonna be a real problem with like the legal system, because you're gonna have like all kinds of stuff submitted as video evidence for crimes, and people are gonna say, well, I mean, that's AI, that wasn't me.
But you'll be able to. There's ways you can determine whether something's is. It's just like you're able to do so now. There'll be ways to determine, and you're also going to have probably evidence to counter that. And that's why the first couple of lawsuits need to be examples. The first person that gets sued for it and taken to the woodshed for it needs to make it so that everybody else that's thinking about doing it is like, ooh, wow, yeah, maybe I could get away with it, but if I don't, do I have $1 million? I'm working at Target. Do I have $1 million because I made some AI thing of Brad and it ruined Brad's whatever, and now Brad's coming after me for damages? Do I have that money?
Well, and it's this is where I think I think it was Ben Affleck recently talked about. And by the way, he actually tends to be pretty on the money with these things, because there's an interview he did like 20 years ago where he basically like predicted Netflix and streaming, and he's got a new one he did with he and Matt Damon did with Joe Rogan recently, where he talked about like AI. It's like it has its purpose. It has its utility. It's not.
It's a tool. It's a tool.
But that needs to be compartmentalized. And I think right now we're kind of in this sort of purgatory where we're still kind of finding the groove of like what AI can and can't, shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And that's gonna need to like iron itself out over the next like.
That's what any tool though. Like if your car, you use it as the tool as it was intended to, you're fine. But if you decide you see me on the sidewalk and you want to run me down, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So and it's with anything, and I think we'll get there. But like I said, it's going to be Congress is going to have to do their jobs as far as not both sides are going to have to tackle this, and they don't want to because of the money involved. You're going to have to tackle this. Because it could be, like I said, if it's regulated, it could be one of the greatest tools of mankind. But if it's Wild West, we're going to have some problems, and you're going to really hurt people. People are going to have their careers ruined or their brands ruined because somebody decided they wanted to, do that.
It's like, and Fourth actually saw you were on a Max stream the other night. You guys were talking about some color of that too, and I mean, again, it's like we're talking about it being as a tool. I mean. You go back through the history of the business where like when like sound came about, when color came about, when TV, VHS, DVD came out, these things like all, and every time there's some amount of like doom and gloom sort of associated with them. It's like, like sound is like going to put a lot of actors out of work because, they don't, they don't sound like photogenic or with the sound is supposed to silent film, and then TV and VHS are going to put movie theaters out of business, or streams going to yeah. So it's and again, there's the panic level kind of starts here with these things, but again, it's because we've got tools that we don't know what we've got at the moment. We're still like figuring out, okay, here's the place where it serves its purpose. Here's where where it's detrimental, and we're still working out that groove with it right now. But there's so many other examples of things that have had a similar sort of revolutionary impact, and this is like the latest like kind of iteration of that. So I think probably next 5-10 years, that's where AI is like, we're going to settle on, okay, here's the role AI is going to play. And it's not just movies, TV. It's, AI is going to be like play roles in all kinds of other things.
It's going to be personal shit too.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you make an AI William with another something looking like me out there again, that's a nightmare for you. But if you make an AI William and you misrepresent my franchise to the point where it puts out something contrary, even a low-level guy like me, I'm going to tear you up in court, man. If you fuck up my livelihood with some bullshit and I can't recover from that, guess who's going to recover for me? And you're also going to have it's going to be like when you drive a car, you need insurance. If you own a business, you need business insurance. It's going to get to the level where you're going to have some type of insurance, because you can't be some broke hot dog salesman somewhere and come after me and fuck up, or come after somebody, ruin their livelihood, and I can't sue you because you don't have shit. No, we're going to need some insurance. You're going to have a million minimum if you're online and making stuff like. So if you sell this AI technology to somebody, they got to bear part of the insurance. Otherwise, you're going to have low-level hackers fucking people's lives.
And there's also, I think this is like they've sort of dipped their toes in the water in this a little bit, but I'm curious, like, and this is where I think AI it's like really needs to be like utilized very carefully, if at all, is in what role it's going to play in like green light decisions, because I could totally see studios like kind of deferring, like, okay, like let's let AI like kind of scour the algorithm, see what's popular, we'll just green light, based on like SEO and that kind of shit. And it's like that's at best that's like a supplement. At worst, that's like you're just letting the AI take over your green light decisions at that point. So that's where I feel like it really there needs to be like a lot of really judicious research and analysis of like how to implement that. So again,
I have no doubt that we'll get. It may be complicated. It may be a complicated road, but I think we have to. There's no choice.
Yeah, out of the bottle. So.
All right, LOL. We're doing a Clayface movie. Yeah, okay, but here's the thing, though. If the very first time most people on this in modern civilization will ever see Clayface, will be the first time they ever see them. There is no brand name Clayface. There's been like 1,000 Clayfaces, but the moviegoer doesn't even know who the character is. So your justification for that is very little, and you're also doing it within the infrastructure of something else you're already doing. So
Aaron's got a good one here. I'm waiting for someone to create AI product. Yes, this could be scary.
It's already happening. Yeah, and once again, that's where the major lawsuits are going to get sued, because all it's going to take is for you to do some really convincing AI porn, which is probably going to get us demonetized just by using that word. But anyway, all it's going to take is somebody who uses that and applies it to somebody who's not in that industry. And there's going to have to be an infrastructure set up to where if you do this stuff.
And they've done that already without AI, where it's like they'll just like Photoshop somebody else's head on another guy.
Yeah, but it's not as good with AI. When we're talking about it getting better.
Yeah,
we're getting better in the next 5-10 years. So if you're not a porn star, Brad, would you want And then they decide who you're doing it with. No, we don't want that.
I can see that.
I'm gonna. If you do that to me, first of all, poor person who sees it. Second of all, you better have a bag full, because I'm taking everything. I'm suing you. I'm suing the company that made the technology. I'm suing everybody, and we'll find out where the legal boundaries are. We don't know where they are yet, but trust me, it'll take something like this, and somebody's be like, "Oh hell no!"
And I know somebody's gonna clip this out, but it's like if I actually were in the porn industry, it's one thing. But I mean, like
If you clip it out, like and subscribe, so when we find you.
but like I mean, the line, the stuff I do in my professional life, between the journalism side and the the coaching side, it's like if my face suddenly starts popping up on like porn sites without my permission, and people think it's me, it's like that could have some fallout on me, because it's like,
yeah, you're ruining somebody's career.
Yeah.
I can't prove this. Neither can you, Joga. If you could prove this, then that would be your basis of your case. But I can't prove that. And also, once again, I'm a big Turtles fan. I know what the last one is. Most people who you're coming that are going to come into this movie are not going to know that storyline. And you're talking about comparing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No disrespect to Eastman and Laird. That is not the brand name of Batman. That is not the brand name of Batman. There's a reason why Ronin sold, because it was considered a natural progression within the comic that was already selling. So,
we got another one from Rational here. William, Brad, both Paramount and Disney said they will use AI, and we see how good it is. Yeah, I think. Well, that was. I mean, it was tangentially kind of related to the last strike, and it's like I think probably the next strike. I think this would be like something that's at the epicenter of the next time we see a Hollywood strike.
You're gonna have to. Unfortunately for us, that shit's gonna last a long time, because there's a lot. There's stuff that this last strike. There's stuff that they everybody tapped out because they were tired of losing money. But this is something you're going to have to, and it's not just going to be a strike. There's going to have to be some major litigation involved. Okay, so who can give their permission to do what? When I sign your contract, and it's in the movie, do you have the right to rearrange my likenesses since you own that footage? If I'm not, so if I take Brad and you did a movie for me, and I use AI to rearrange everything that I already have, is that something do I have to pay you more? Or can I even do that? And that hasn't been decided yet. So that's what's going to need to be,
And this is something I wrote. I kind of because I was at Screen Rant at the time during the strike, and one thing I wrote about that was a big sticking point in the last strike, where, like, how was it? They kind of put basically the actors a big issue they had, and this was AI related. Was
okay.
Blade Runner sucks.
What?
Fourth 1000, you're a piece of shit.
Did he just voice?
Fourth 1000, you're a piece of shit. You motherfucker! Hold up.
He just voice tell you that?
No, he. I'm gonna bring this up here.
Okay. Before you do, because I didn't get Don Demand's. There's quite a bit. I didn't get his super chat. Sorry about that, man. There's quite a bit of the Batman fandom that aren't the Batman Beyond. Okay, so I've got us all our super chats. Quite a bit of Batman fandom that's on Batman Beyond.
Yeah, and like I said, you got to know this. How? Hold on. Can I? How?
But basically, this one of the issues of the strike was that the idea of like using like actors' likeness, where you can just plop them into scenes in the background or what have you, and the actors were like, okay, if you're going to do that, you're going to pay me every time you do that, right? And the suits are saying, okay, we're going to scan your face, we're going to pay you one time, and everyone's going to be happy. And the actors like, the hell you are.
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem. We're about to ban Fourth 1000 from the page forever, and I'm going to show you guys why. Hold on.
Something about Blade Runner. Yeah. Son of, I just wrote Don Demand's super chat. I just read that. Good. And Aaron, going back to some of your super chats. You know what doesn't have AI that's coming up? It's Furious. Got your dudes kicking butt for 2 hours, no AI. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, did he just AI you? Oh, I think you're mute, man.
I want everybody in the chat to say goodbye to Fourth 1000 forever. Okay? I want everybody in the chat to say goodbye, because he's leaving after this.
Pineapple on pizza is the best, and Blade Runner sucks.
You piece of shit. Yeah. Everybody say their goodbyes. Oops. I got rid of you instead of the thing. I was blinded by that nasty. Yeah, I can tell that too. You can tell my face.
First of all, your voice sounds something like you, and
yeah.
And then again, what you're saying and what you're doing. That's like
and what I'm eating.
Yeah. So
would never fucking happen.
But just like the movement, it's so like it's like if you put like the contents of like a lava lamp inside of a human body. That's what AI like movement looks like to me right now. So it's I can always spot it every time.
Yeah, it's that just threw me off. All right.
Oh, fourth. I guess which part was AI? You mean all of it?
Well, but no one that is not believable. Because anybody who would know me and knows my brand would know that those are two things that would
but that's just like lighthearted. That's just like that's lighthearted, like playing a prank kind of thing. That's like nobody's gonna get sued or sue anybody over that. But like if he I mean, to bring it back to the more serious end we were talking about a minute ago, like if Forth had done a video where he like made William look like he had like a kid in his hand, he shot him in the head with at point blank range.
Yeah, that's so silly.
Was William the same argument? What same argument?
He's saying for Batman Beyond. I'm just going through the chat. Not really. Okay, if we didn't have Man of Steel doing 670 whatever, we didn't have 871. Because you knew there was a market out there for it.
Well, and there was also it was a movie that was made and was mostly had the majority of post production work done on it. So it wasn't a matter of like making the Snyder Cut. It was a matter of like completing it and putting it out.
But even if I didn't have that Snyder Cut, the natural progression was to go forward based on what you had. Now you have the problem with that is you had people who were just weren't doing the right thing, and you had evidence that those people were fucking up. Their own words fucked them up. That's not the case when you're talking about Batman Beyond. There's nobody coming out saying this is a cul-de-sac. There's nobody destroying the credibility of what came before Batman Beyond. There's just not enough data there. See, with the Snyder Cut and anything with Snyder went, you had enough data to go with. You had two movies that increased in their volume in each one, and so your natural progression. Now that's life.
3, because you can count Wonder Woman in that.
Yeah. So if you were going towards a certain direction, you had the progression. You don't have that with other things like that, and definitely you don't have that with Batman Beyond. If you had that with Batman Beyond, you'd have something already.
Yeah, see that's how I can always spot it. It's too clean to me. It's like it's too clean, it's too smooth, it's too fluid. That's how I'm always able to kind of spot AI when I see it. How long did it take you to make that Fourth? Because I get the sense
it wasn't long because we weren't talking about AI, but more than 10, 15 minutes.
I get the impression you threw that together in like 5 or 10 minutes.
That's not probably less. Evidently, Christina Hodson wrote a treatment for Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton, so they must have done the research for the liability. Okay, no, all right. Christina Hodson is not an executive at Warner Brothers. Christina Hodson controls no money. She's not even a producer. They that would need to do the research on whether it was viable or not are the people who would take her script and say, okay, let's go. Anybody, Brad can write a script. We can write a script and send them to there. That doesn't mean any of them are going to go forward. That doesn't mean it's viable. That just means somebody wrote a script. Now, if somebody would have taken that script and gone somewhere with it based on information, that's viability. So that's not the same thing. I'm scrolling down because I know we were on that topic for quite a while.
Yeah. That's how I can always tell it's AI, because it's like in this like weird sort of like middle point between like being like flesh and blood and animation. It's like that's how I no one's ever gotten an AI thing by being
5 or 10 minutes. That's actually not bad, but still, it's kind of creepy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I might have to. That might have been Fourth 1000's last. This might be. I want you to enjoy this show, Fourth, because
he's probably working on one for me right now, where he says like, my most anticipated like is 2026 is Scary Movie 6.
That needs to happen to balance out this and other nonsense.
It's like Kung Fu is lame. It's like I don't want to restore the Snyderverse. He's gonna put.
I can't wait to get you up on a ladder there, Fourth. And this is reason I will not miss this time around. William Hamada was the one who commissioned Creed, Ken Hodgson, and Batman. Wait, there you go. There you go. I mean, and even still, Hamada could have commissioned her for it because that's not going to cost. He's going to pay her for the script. Hamada's, like I said, especially at that time, you didn't have a studio. So Hamada, not only did Hamada have a boss, he had several bosses, and that shit wasn't going to go anywhere.
Well, not only that, but also you had, I mean, how many DC movies got announced during that period that never got? Like Plastic Man and Wonder Woman's got a little bit into it. I remember like Scott of Squadcast. I remember like they talked about like they had like a 2-page list of like in the time frame from like 2017 to like 2022 of DC movies that were announced that never moved forward.
Never happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though Hamada was what his position was whatever, but Emmerich, that wasn't getting past Emmerich or Sarnoff.
Yeah.
That script would have been a paper airplane.
Aaron says, "Oh yeah," so because it was specifically the Tom Cruise and I wonder what they're going to say something Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt on that one. But one guy says, "Oh yeah, that's it for stuntmen and stuff." And listen, the circles I run in, as we call like action Twitter, is kind of like they dove on that shit, and it was so beautiful. Like no stuntmen, stuntwomen will never ever be irrelevant. And
they're getting an Oscar this year, aren't they?
AI, this year. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I saw the Donovan one. Yeah, that guy would lose his mind over that shit, dude.
Yeah. If there's one thing he hates more than later,
he hates AI. It's in his title too, so it's funny. All right, so listen, boy, I saw this in the movie. Maybe we should stop doing these 1986 things. God damn it!
I love it.
Don't like shit lately. This was an all-timer. This is one of those iconic movies. But Top Gun, like I said at the beginning of the show, I grew up on an Air Force base. Oops, didn't mean to do that. No, go back this way. That's Ric Flair. Damn it. There we go. Hey, by the way, streamer, if you're watching, make this easier to transition. I shouldn't have to do the whole folder thing. It's kind of dumb. Anyway, Top Gun. My uncle served on an aircraft carrier. He served on the USS Enterprise. My father was 25 years Air Force. My grandfather was in the Army. I was in the Army. He was in Berlin. I was born in Berlin, ironically. I have cousins and uncle, we got like 20, 30 of us, I think, that have all been in the military. So whenever a military movie came out, we were on it, man. We were on it. I can't remember the kind of fun I would have when I grew up on the Air Force base. We had these air shows. For those of you who don't know, if you've ever been to an Air Force base, every year, they have and Army even has.
Yeah.
They do demonstrations. We get to see these things coming up close. And on an air show, you just don't get Air Force planes. They bring they bring all the Navy stuff out there. They bring the Hornets out there. The Tomcat, which is what is used in Top Gun, was out there. They've since retired. The F-14 Tomcat, as you saw in Top Gun Maverick.
By the way, real quick interjection. Top Gun was directed by Tony Scott, who of course is the brother of Williams' favorite director.
Ridley Scott. Rest in peace, Tony. Rest in peace. Tony Scott was one. I think because he was Ridley Scott's brother, and he did the genre of his movies were action.
Yeah.
He did a lot. Bad Boys. I mean, he did a lot. Tony Scott's got his hands on a lot of good shit.
Yeah.
And this is obviously, and that's a lot of people were kind of worried too. Some people or could they do Top Gun Maverick without him? And they, if there's enough Tony Scott in that movie,
it's dedicated to him too. And
yeah. And he committed suicide after he was diagnosed. I've read allegedly when he was diagnosed with a form of brain cancer or something like that, and he committed suicide at age 66. So it was tragic, man. It's all of those are tragic, but it's just he did a lot of good stuff. Top Gun. And Top Gun might not even be one of his most famous. Tony Scott was. Let's look up Tony Scott, because Tony Scott's biography was in a lot of things. Obviously, he did
Scott too. He did what did he do? Hunger. He did Days of Thunder. He worked a lot with Tom Cruise. Last Boy Scout. Sure.
Tom Cruise trusted it. Last Boy Scout was a hit.
Crimson
All right,
Tide.
let's go. Hold on. 1983, The Hunger, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, which was actually really good. Days of Thunder, Last Boy Scout, True Romance, Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide. I was watching a scene the other day with Crimson Tide.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Hence, what's up?
I think I know what you're talking about, like when Gene Hackman says, "I made a decision. I'm captain of this boat. Now shut the fuck up."
You saw that clip? I don't know if I reposted that. I love that thing. And he's reading, and when there's a scene in there with Denzel Washington. Yeah, they're talking, they're screaming at each other, and they're screaming over each other. He's reading the regulation, and he's reading the order, and it's so intense. And that intense when they're sitting there at the table, when he decides, you know what, where we fixed the VLF antenna, which is what they were trying to get the rest of the order, and they're sitting there talking, just eye to eye. It is so intense. It's bullshit, because that would never happen on a nuclear sub that way, but it's so entertaining.
Okay,
so we got.
Wait a minute. Do you want to go through Top Gun first before I show you what Ford just sent me?
Oh Lord! No, just do it, because
okay.
Just do it.
Okay. Well, I've officially been AI. And I think personally, I think a little more like Phil in this. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or what have you done? Oh God, what have you done to William here too?
Oh, another one of me?
Yeah, it's both of us.
Ah, Jesus.
And it definitely doesn't look like you. Like nobody's gonna buy this as the real you. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go, guys. Let me get the volume up. All right.
Talk about the grade one more time. I dare you. Yeah, I double dare you.
Whoa, man, what are you doing?
Okay. Talk about the grade one more time. I dare you. Yeah, I double dare you.
Whoa, man, what are you doing?
Okay.
Don't I look more like Phil there? I think I look more like Phil there.
You look like Steve from Stranger Things, sir. I don't know who. I look like Chris Tucker or something. A
No,
zombified version of Chris
Tucker.
Tucker.
Keith David's in me right there.
What's with my eyes?
Well, okay, I've officially been AI.
We know this isn't me because there's no bolt on this shirt, amongst other things. All right, get that off. Get that creepy shit off the screen. I can't take it. No more. Anyway, let's. Oh my God.
Okay, we're at now, guys.
All right, so Top Gun. Everybody knows this movie. Everybody's quoted this movie. It is about Lieutenant Pete Mitchell, the son of Duke Mitchell, who was shot down over Vietnam in a mission that nobody knew the full details about, and it ruined his reputation. And so Pete has grown up with this reputation of his dad. And then Viper, played by Tom Skerritt, tells him, "Yeah, I flew with your dad. I was there on that mission," and it was not all that. So has one of the heartbreaking death scenes in any movie. Talk to me, Goose. When Goose died, I remember seeing that for the very first time. And the way, because Goose, played by Anthony Edwards, is his ride or die. He's his radio intercept operator, and he's with him halfway through the movie, and there's an accident. Obviously, that he gets killed. They proved that wouldn't happen, but it was Hollywood. They did it, and it changes him throughout the rest of the movie. But it makes the sequel so good, and I actually think the sequel is better, to be honest with you. What makes the sequel, in my opinion, better, it carries that over. It carries that progression over the guilt he feels for Goose. Even at the beginning of the movie where Cyclone, the Admiral, was trying to needle him. It's like, because the other Admiral was like, Maverick was, Captain Mitchell was clear to that. He's like, is that what you believe, Captain Mitchell? He's trying to needle him. Because as soon as he saw Goose's son up there, he didn't want the mission. And that Admiral didn't want him on the mission. But he was trying to needle him out of it, and he still took it. So, but Top Gun, I mean, what it did for naval recruitment.
Oh, Oh yeah.
Was huge. I
They had
remember
recruitment booths out in the lobby of every theater showing it, and
that was how they got the right. That's how the Navy gave them so much leeway and so much so much resources. They said, yeah, you let us use this as a recruiting rate, and it basically was. I mean, I don't know how many people started their Navy careers or wanted to be pilots after this movie, and it was mostly. And I know you can go to YouTube right now and see any of the naval pilots that are going to tell you it's all bullshit. There's nothing. He's not flying the plane. He's in black. It's a naval aviator flying the plane. But the things that you can tell that it's not CGI, but it's practical effects. When when the MiG, he turns over on the MiG and says greetings. That's not real because the MiG-28 that they were using and the F-14 Combat or Tomcat, their rear dorsals would have come into contact and they would have crashed. Yeah. Just like when you watch Maverick, Top Gun Maverick,
he does the same thing in that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when he uses his jet when they can't find him, and he jumps up in between them, they're like the Navy would never let you do that. That's a $50 million jet, and that's dangerous. So most of Top Gun Maverick was CGI, but it was fun.
Because I think he said like in other streams, like when Maverick came out, one of those jets costs like $5 million or $10 million to make.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't let you just like it's not like you can't joyride.
No, 50
million. Okay, wow. So again,
the avionics alone, the electrical avionics alone on the F-18 is $5 million.
So they're not going to let you just joyride like mom and dad's car. These things.
Nah, and they're never going to, even if it was two naval aviators, they would never do some of this shit that they're doing in those planes.
Yeah, well, because I mentioned we were talking about Reg of the Nerds the other night, and I mean, connected, Anthony Edwards. I mean, I think he did that like 2 years before Top Gun. And they also did a breakdown on legal. I'll go put the chat for you guys in a minute, but on Top Gun, he had a Navy or Marine lawyer on for that one, and he talked about like all the different ways that Maverick would have been court-martialed.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, the buzzing the tower alone, just not the buzzing of the tower. That's just irritating, and it's dangerous. He was given an order not to do so that's insubordination. So there you got that there. What else did he do in Top Gun that would have gotten him?
They also talk a little bit about and it's a similar setup in the second one where it's like we're in like a tense, like not quite conflict with a foreign nation that's unidentified, but
yeah, it was Russia.
Yeah, and Maverick does in this one he does some stuff that kind of tiptoes up to like if he did this, like he would spark an international incident.
Yeah, he violated the rules of engagement. He violated the rules of engagement several times in that one, and he engaged when they remember they gave him orders. When they got the cigar, the Air boss gave him orders what they could do before they flew. So he was doing all kinds, but it all turned out well. Maverick's a hero.
Let's put the chat for you guys.
When it comes to Top Gun Maverick 2, he's doing all kinds of crazy shit that should have got him kicked out.
Well, not only that, but also the fact that he's still in it, as Ed Harris says at the beginning. It's like you're not taking a promotion. You won't die.
You won't die despite your best efforts. You should be I memorized that part, and it's because he never wanted. He could have gotten promoted. Yeah, he kept bringing citation. Only man to shoot down, but he had everything he needed. He didn't want to, and that's when he was talking to ICE. He's like, please don't take me out of that cockpit. The pilot's all I've ever wanted to be. It's not just what I do; it's who I am. And if you get promoted beyond 06, you can't fly. You fly ceremoniously, but for the most part, they don't let admirals don't fly, stars don't fly. So, but when the beginning of the movie, where he takes that whatever $100 million jet and destroys it, and technically he wasn't disobeying an order because the admiral never got there. He was never given an order to stop. So technically he had a case there, but yeah, he destroyed that jet. And then when he took the jet on the test run, he did not have the authorization to do that. And even the vice admiral said, "I have everything I need to dishonorably discharge you and give you, get rid of you out of the military." And he's like, "Iceman's not here anymore." And ICE was who kept him in. He probably had all kinds of troubles throughout, but ICE was a 4-star admiral. He was a Pacific Fleet commander. And if you listen, I don't care what branch it is. If you have an ally or one or two allies in any chain of command that's got stars on their shoulders, you may or may not get away with some stuff that everybody else gets with. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right, but especially if you have that admiral, there's only one commander of the Pacific Fleet. That's a very powerful guy. And even John Hamm's character, he was the air boss, so he was in command of all air activity in the fleet.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
one thing they wanted to share in the comments. One thing they also point out, and that is it's at the end, like after the dogfight at the end, Maverick lands on the aircraft carrier, and like everybody on there is just like, greeting him and like treating him like a hero. And the lawyer guy points out, it's like, okay, we just had like something that could like tip us into World War III. Everybody should be like at their battle stations right now.
ready, probably ready, getting new planes out there. But it's so much of Top Gun. Both movies are bullshit, but they're fun.
Yeah,
it's
very
fun.
fun.
All right.
So, and
So
I wasn't born yet when the first one came. When did I see it? I was probably like 13 when I saw the
you
first
haven't
one.
seen Top Gun 1 yet? Wow, damn.
Yeah, I was probably like 13 when I saw the first one. And that was, I mean, I think it's fair to say the first one was Tom Cruise's breakout, right?
Oh, that or risky. He was big with Risky Business too. So
Yeah, but
not to the level that was his breakthrough. I don't know if there's a word for what Top Gun did for him, but it was Risky Business with him dancing in his underwear.
Major career boost. Major.
There was no going back.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, I was because he had talked about like doing a Top Gun sequel for the longest time. I was actually pretty dubious about that. Not that it would be good or successful. I just was dubious that, because I mean, actors, producers talk all the time. It's like, oh, like my big hit from 20 years ago. It's like I want to do like a legacy follow up to that. I was thinking like, I mean, I was putting a lot of stock in it. I didn't see that getting off the ground, but I mean, hey, it's like, way to prove me wrong, man.
Yeah, and plus it's that it was a once in a lifetime type of hit that just carried over to a generation. Top Gun made excellent use of movie sound. Yeah, it's one of the movies. It's like I said, in 1980, 1980 was in the 80s were the height of that, and it started to fade by the mid 90s. But we were right in the heart. Kenny Loggins was the soundtrack guy. I mean, he had soundtrack songs over everything. He had Caddyshack. He had both Caddyshack. He had this. He had Over the Top, which is a horrible movie, but has a beautiful theme song. Footloose. He had like 4 or 5 soundtracks, and he just made his money off of that. But yeah, you got Beverly Hills Cop, Neutron Dance. You had Legend, even Legend, which is a movie to this day. We're going to cover that movie one of these days. That people didn't understand had a huge Tangerine Dream soundtrack. Brian Ferry is your love song. There's every major movie, and Top Gun lined up perfectly with the MTV era, because in that era you did not have a successful movie. It wasn't like today where it's scores. You did not have a successful movie without a successful theme song. That goes all the way up to the 90s too, because Terminator, dude, there are people who have not seen Terminator 2 that know You Could Be Mine. There are just so, there are so many movies, but Top Gun, I mean, you had The Danger Zone, which became an iconic song. And remember, when they did these, they would put the music videos out way before the music the movie would be released. So before Top Gun came out, Highway Through the Danger Zone was playing everywhere. And so was Berlin, Take My Breath Away. That became the hit love song. Two iconic hits from one movie. And then you had Kenny Loggins had a couple of different songs on that album. So, and another movie that came out in 1986, and we're going to cover this one down the line, Transformers. Transformers had one of the most underrated soundtracks of a movie. You had Weird Al in that. You had Stan Bush, The Touch. That's the only place that The Touch should ever be used on is a Transformers affiliated movie. Seeing that on Boogie Nights, hearing that on Boogie Nights, I wish prison on somebody for that shit. But anyway, Top Gun, 1986. All right, so the last thing on the agenda is we're going to cover this lightly because there is a twist. The winner of the tournament to claim the spot to go up against wow, this okay, this is dust. Gotta get that off here. To face Darkseid to for the right to be able to stop him from basically doing whatever he wants to is culminates in here. And hold on, let me bring up this is a cover. This is your standard cover, and this is your A cover behind it. It has the Absolute Trinity on there, but there's a catch. There is something I will tell you without spoiling it, is that they are not themselves here. They are themselves, but they have been transported. Saturn Girl, who is working in consort with Darkseid, has they pulled them from their future, like from their immediate future. So it's not the Absolute Trinity that we're seeing in the comics. It is, but it is not. And there's a big thing in here that the revelation to if the absolute universe is created out of Darkseid energy, then why are there heroes? Why are there heroic beings? And they explain it because when Darkseid did what he did, he's in the future. He cannot have a direct effect on the absolute universe, at least not yet. So that's why Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash are all heroic when they were literally created. Everything about them is part of a universe of a genocidal, god who wants to, kill everyone or make them slaves. So hold on, let me see if I got my. I got out of my Instagram page when Forth sent me that crazy shit. Oh my god. I got to get that out of my head. I'm gonna have to take some drugs to get that out of my head. So I don't want to bring up the panels that will give it away. But there's a panel with Absolute. I'll show that one to you. Hold on, Absolute Batman. That I thought was hilarious. There's a panel where he's like, I battle a lot of Batmen. That's the ugliest logo I've ever seen. And then he's like, how's it looking now? And he's hold on, I need that. I can't bring it up, but damn it, hold on. Because they do fight, but I thought it was a bit of a letdown simply because it's not the they weren't in control of themselves. They were under. If you notice on the covers and everything else, their eyes are red because they're under her control. I'm trying to find this. Here we go. And he's in this, since they're enchanted or whatever, I guess. That's not the one I want. Hold on. We're done with you, Tom. The size comparison between them is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's the one dude. I love this guy's channel, but yeah, you can kind of see the size difference there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's making fun of her logo because at the beginning of the Absolute Batman, everybody was dogging the logo. I remember when it first came out, we're like, what is that? That doesn't look like a bat. What is that? And then after everybody saw him detach it and use it as an act, I didn't hear any more complaints. Yeah, I didn't hear any more complaints about that. But yeah, this one explains a lot of what's going on. And once again, we get a champion name. So this particular individual is going to face Darkseid. But I think there's going to be a double cross here without telling you who it is. But the Joker switches sides. If you read up issue 3, you know what he does, and then he switches sides this episode. Booster Gold is Booster Gold, but he's Darkseid's avatar. because Darkseid can't enter these universes yet. So he's Darkseid's avatar. So he's that's in there. But let me. But yeah, there's a whole lot of things that get killed in here, and there's some really cool stories about the mentality behind Superman and Batman and how they fight, and then they finally go up against. This is where Darkseid is revealed to be what he really is. He's still benevolent, but he's not the base villain that he is. He's trying to accomplish something, and there's a reason why that they haven't put it in yet. But and then okay, cool. That doesn't show you the winner, but that shows you what's going to go on the next villain. So Darkseid is the whole tournament is about who can become the King Omega to reshape the universe from what Darkseid is doing to it. So a lot of these characters that are dying in these comics are basically probably going to come back to life, simply because whoever reshapes the universe is probably going to reshape it in their vision. I don't know if this is going to be some type of inner reboot, but I think it's going to basically keep everything that we've had and at the very least restore the basic universe and not touch the absolute universe. At least that's what I want. But yeah, I highly recommend it. You don't necessarily need to be reading absolute titles up to this point, how they're presented in this comic. I think you should, though. I think you should be reading all of this stuff. But they do meet, and there is a point during this issue where they're no longer under the mind control of Saturn Girl. So I've enjoyed the DCKO stuff, not as much as I've enjoyed the absolute line stuff. But hold on for a second, because there were variants, and I forgot to bring them out for you. All right, so I sold out all the other variants. Sorry, but so you saw the A cover. Here's the forgot who did this. I don't know the artist who did it. I should, but that's the I love it when they do these and they minimize the logo. It's not a true version cover because you still have the DCKO logo on it, but it's still cool. And this is the one I kind of liked the most. It is the Trinity headed into like a gladiatorial arena.
Yeah.
And this is another one. So they've written this story to the point where you don't necessarily need everything to understand everything, but I think having read everything, you enjoy it better because you understand why this is all happening. But they've made it an easy read. You could be reading DCKO and not necessarily know who these other Trinity are. But I find that kind of crazy, but it's written that way. They explain who they are. They do a good job of explaining why the absolute universe is, and actually they give you a little bit more information in it because now you know why Darkseid, because he's outside of time and from his place in the future, he has to be in that universe's present in order to affect it. So that's why he has Saturn Girl doing his dirty deeds, and she had to get them from a point in the future. So whatever happens to them, even if they all get wiped out here, I'm not going to tell you whether they do or not, it's not going to affect the absolute universe. So it's not like they die here and like, oh shit, all the absolute books are going out. A little bit more of a complex read, I thought, than everything else. Not complex to the point where you can't figure it out, but you have to. There are other things that are happening that during this entire KO all in thing that are not happening within what's selling the most, which is the DC Absolute Universe. There are other things, like if you're not reading Superman, there's a whole bunch of things going on with Doomsday. I can't believe I'm saying there's Doomsday stuff I'm interested in, but what they've done with him here is masterful. Booster Gold, a character that if you watch the show long enough, I have no use for. I have a lot of use for him here. So there's a lot of complexities there that there's a lot of references that you may be missing out on. But as far as like the absolute line itself, you don't need any of this. You should get it though, but you don't need it because it gives you a primer that makes it more enjoyable now. Like now, going back to the Absolute Universe, that answered a big question. Like, Darkseid, why isn't anybody running around with red eyes and shit like that? It's because he created the universe, but he cannot have an effect on it because of where he is in time. So yeah, that's DCKO number 4. It's selling really quick, by the way. Selling really quick. I'm down to a handful of issues. Absolute Batman, I think, comes out this Wednesday, and they got Absolute Poison Ivy, and I'm starting to see the covers of those. And then there's another one where there's a Bane. I think it's 18. They released a cover. One of them where Bane's got all this green shit coming out of him, and then somebody messed up and released a redacted cover. I think it was done on purpose, and it's Court of Owls. So we're getting Absolute Court of Owls. I love what this is doing for DC. I have a section dedicated to it. I have a section dedicated to Ultimates too, but I guess that didn't matter. But if you're just looking, if you're not a collector and you hear me talking about comics all the time, but it's over because there's thousands of issues. Where do I start? Start right here. Start right here. And if you can't, if you don't want to pay $150 to $200 for Absolute Batman number 1, doesn't matter. If you got $30 to your name and you don't want to spend them on one comic or 2 comics, guess what? Come here, I'll give you a discount. This is all the Absolute Batman you need right now. When you can afford to, or when they come down, go get the individual comics. But if you just want to be involved in the conversation and you want to get the knowledge and what's going on, what everybody's talking about, Absolute Batman, first volume, the Zoo, right here. There's enough of the places are selling out of them. We've sold out of them a couple of times. They're trade paperbacks, so they'll never stop printing these, and they don't have that kind of value to the point where I'm going to sell my trade paperback for $200. No, unless you get it signed or something like that. But just as they are now, bookstores have these, comic book stores have these, and when they run out, we can get more of them. So that's the Zoo. That has number 1, I think, 27 on it, and then the storyline that actually made me give a shit about Bane, and this is Abomination. This is the second volume. And all the Absolutes have them now. Wonder Woman, this is the only one that has 2 volumes to it until I think next week, 2 weeks from now. Absolute Wonder Woman is going to have her second volume because she has one. So if you can't get the comics, get this. And even immediately after KO is done with, they're going to have it in Big Sur format. So even though I'd rather having you obviously for selfish reasons, rather have you buy the comics, but guess what? I will gladly sell you this. I want you in. I want you part of the conversation. Right now, I've been selling comics for a long time, and it's been a long time since I've had this kind of excitement. DC would have a title here, get excited about. Have a title there, get excited about. Maybe 2 or 3 of them, a storyline here or there. It hasn't been in my existence that they've had the entire universe polarized like this. Both ends of it. It's not just Absolute. Absolute is tied to All In. All In is tied to DCKO. And it's the dark side at the heart of all of it. And they did it without blowing up stuff. They did it without a retcon. They did it without, without rebirthing and all that nonsense. They did that. He's proving that you could tell diverse, separate universe stories. You don't have to destroy what came before. So, like I said, every week, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm a shill for the Absolute Universe. I am. So there we go. What you got?
Aaron's asking, how is DC X AEW on?
I have 2 left. And my sales spiked because we had AEW here in town the week that those came out, and I handed out business cards. Hey, why don't you come to Sci-Fi Center pick up? And they did. I met people at the Palms that came down and bought some. So yeah, I use that. And right now it has a beautiful cover too. It stands that they did a good job with that cover. That cover, that blue AEW gold cover. Bam! It flew. So it did very well. I was cautious in my orders, but I did well enough to where I will continue along with it or whatever they do. What about the film Three Kings? Oh, they would have gotten court-martialed. Those guys did some serious shit. Those guys would have been arrested. Yeah, those guys would have been Article 37 or 30. I think 37 for what they did. Yeah, listen, most military movies are. I hate to say this, they're bullshit sometimes, and they're fun. They have to be bullshit. They have to be bullshit because there are shit that these people do in these movies that would get them in Leavenworth for the rest of their lives, or at minimum 20 years. There is shit that you do that, and you just need, give me a military movie for the most part that's not based on a true story. When it's just some Hollywood bullshit, it has to be because it's that we don't do that. We don't do this crazy shit. All right, we don't, disobeying orders. Dude, it's that's the worst thing you could do because, and the reason why the military puts structure behind when you disobey an order, it's a serious thing, is because when you do it, what if you were to do that out in the battlefield? And when you disobey an order, especially if you're an NCO or an officer, everybody sees you do that. So if you're out in an environment where all you have is your command structure, that's the difference between us and the other armies is as the leadership and the respect, it breaks down and they dissolve or they get blown away. With us, there's a discipline there. And if you allow that discipline to break down like it does in these movies, a whole bunch of people are going to die. Whole bunch of people are going to die, especially if some of the stuff like Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide was, I don't change a thing. Don't change a thing. I don't want to remake. I don't want anything changed when it comes to Crimson Tide. I love that movie. But that captain knows that they can't turn that key unless the XO concurs. He knows that. He would know. He would know that there is no screaming at him. There is no none of that. Once he reads that code and it's authenticated, and he says one of those two men, usually it has to be the XO because the captain's the only one to give the order. One of those two men, the XO says, "I do not concur." That's it. It's over. There's no fight. There's none of that chasing each other through the submarine with James Gandolfini and Viggo Mortensen's character. You're not beating Web's character when he wouldn't turn the key because he has to turn the key as well. Because remember, they all got the keys lined up where they want to, and Webs didn't turn his key. You're not going to beat him up. You're not going to pull a gun. He pulled a gun on the guy. He says, "Oh, well, you're not afraid to die." Well, maybe he is. Gene Hackman lost his shit in that movie. That's not ever going to happen. There are protocols. I know guys who served on subs. I know Master Chiefs, a chief of the boat. I've known guys at all those levels. My uncle was a Master Chief. He was the chief of the boat. The highest. That one guy that says, "Captain, he's right. You have to concur." That was the one part of that movie that's not bullshit. Because first of all, Gene Hackman, the captain, would have never even gotten that far. It would have never gotten that far. But when he said chief of the boat, arrest the kid, you can't do that. He was well within his rights to say no, and he was well within his rights to relieve him of command. So but what if that would have been the way that the Navy or the military actually did it? I would have got up and left that movie. I would have gone, what is this? This is boring.
And all worth for like one, just that memorable moment. I'm captain of the ship. I made the decision. I'm captain of the ship. Now,
yeah, I'm trying to fuck around. They're filling up their missiles. But he was right.
Gene Hackman could have played he played many military roles in his career. He could have done that really well. He could have made a career out of just that by himself.
He played a crazy one. I don't know if he could play just a regular descriptor.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, where Hunter, questions his command in front of other officers, and he took him up to the surface and said, "I don't mind if you have an opinion, but just do it in private. Call me down at court." He's 100% there, because there's been many times where I've had an issue with something like that, and even if you have an issue, you don't do it in front of other NCOs, and if you're an officer, you don't do it in front of officers. Just like in A Few Good Men, that movie was almost entirely bullshit. Because Jack Nicholson's character, Colonel Jessup, would have been court-martialed long before that. He would not have made full bird because he had an attitude that would get people in a lot of trouble. But when Colonel Markinson, when when he questions Jessup's order in front of Keith Sutherland's character, and he dismisses him. He's like, "Don't ever question my orders in front of another officer again." That kind of stuff does happen because it's not because of the ego. I mean, in Jack Nicholson's case, it was ego, but it's a fear of breakdown. If I got the XO questioning the commander in front of everybody down below is gonna question. Everybody down below is gonna be like, "Are these two on the same page? Am I in good hand? Or are we being?" You don't want to ever do that. You play the role, and then you say, "Hey, permission to speak freely or privately." After everybody in that room is dismissed, and it's just you and him, and then you ask, "It's sir, or permission to speak freely, whatever." And then now you're talking to each other, and you don't have to have those type of military protocols. You can just still respectful if it's a higher rank than you, but you're not doing the crazy shit, and nobody else is in there. And when you leave that setting, when those people aren't, it's not just you two and there's other people, they don't need to know what happened in that room. Once a decision is made between those two, that is it. Once you go forward, and that's it. And that's what would have happened in Crimson Tide. They would have come up with a professional way to come up with. They're sitting on nuclear missiles. You can't have people like that. We'll all die. And as far as loss of communication goes, as far as I understand, and there's be Navy people that can dispute me, and you'd probably be right. As far as I understand, is you don't launch. If that is the last complete order you got, then yes. But if the whole point of the movie is the VLF antenna went down while they were getting a counter order. So as far as I understand, you don't launch. Period. And that's it. There's no movie. But who would want to see that? I need to see Jimmy Hackman, because that last scene where they come to an agreement. So, okay, you have this amount of time. And remember the whole intense scene of him working on the antenna? He's like, I could have built one by now. And it's just intense. And then then it finally comes through. And when Gene Hackman reads it and then he hands it and he's like, I concur. And it's because they've been called off. And I love that conversation Gene Hackman's way. What if the captain's right? What if the captain's right? And he said, what if he's wrong? They launch and we launch, and both of our missiles cross each other in the sky, and it's Armageddon. And Denzel, that's probably one of Denzel's best roles, in my opinion. And that movie was just I was sitting in that movie like, and like I said, I saw it again with my own. It was bullshit. But it needed to be that way. Now, Saving Private Ryan was from what I can understand, a World War II grandfather, and at the time, Saving Private Ryan was released. A lot of World War II veterans were still alive. They were in their 70s and 80s. As a matter of fact, most of them were in their 70s, so they were there. Some of them came from
probably in their 60s. They were like lying about. My grandfather lied about his age to enlist.
Yeah, so they joined young. So you had people that were old enough to or of age to talk about it and tell you. And I remember I told you this before. The first 37 of they bought in military people because it was a Beno Vista test screening. And they wanted to get our opinions. This was back before it became something that I do. Yeah. I was invited because my sister worked for Beno Vista at the time, and they had World War II people there. You saw their hats. Like I got one for my Iraqi freedom, but you saw that a vet when you see one. They got the hat on, they got the medals on, and then there's a few of them sitting in there. And I was hearing all across all the screenings that those guys had to get up and go
because it was just like an out of body experience for them.
Well, that sound, because that was when they first started using the big sound. That sound was shaking that fucking theater, and so much was happening all at once. And listen, I forget how old was I then. I was in my 20s. I was 23 when that movie came out. I was in the Army. I had been in the Army. I had been through exercises, and I'd been through live fire exercises and all that. I had never been through what some of these cats and Nam and all these other guys went through. I can never even lie to you and say I was even remotely close to some shit like that. I wasn't traumatized coming into that movie. I was traumatized during that movie. I mean, there's so much shit, and it's all around you. And I'm thinking, how did any of you motherfuckers survive? You lost 9,000 men that first day. 9,000 men.
Well, I mean, just getting on the beach, where it's like,
forget about getting into the Battle of the Bulge and
I mean that door
all the
down,
other battles that went.
guys right in the front. They're just like they're taken out right away.
We lost 9,000 servicemen that day on June 6th. How do you see that happening to a guy, your buddy? How do you see that happening on that scale and still get to that hill, still get to those pillboxes, and still be able to keep your mind and do what you were sent there to do when everybody around you, so many people were killed that units were just merging with each other. And just like that in Private Ryan, where that captain, Tom Hanks, he took over another unit. They just kind of merged as they found each other. And you're still getting that. And that was just the first day. That was just breaking the Atlantic Wall. Just like they show you in the movie, there's still shit that they had to do. They had to go find him. And they had to fight through all kinds of stuff. Patton made his bones for things that happened after D-Day. Because the battle is about, the Germans weren't giving up. They were still fighting. D-Day was one day, but we still lost thousands of men heading toward Berlin. And that movie, from what I can understand from everybody who I talked to who served in that war, most of them are gone now. That was so real that it was stunning. I was ready. I was curled up in my seat. I'm like, whoa. Heads were blowing off, and when the one guy that got hit in the head with the one small caliber bullet, and he takes his helmet off, and there's like, you lucky bastard. And then the next shot takes his entire head off. The guys that are in the water swimming, and then you see the bullets hit them, and you see their dead bodies float away. The guy who's walking around looking for his arm, he's in such shock. The dude who's so wounded, they just give him the morphine. Tom Hanks says, it's giving him morphine. That's all we can do. And I'm like, what the fuck?
There's one guy, the medics are like, they're working on him. It's like, we stopped the bleeding, and then he gets shot.
He gets shot again, yeah. That's what was happening. Steven Spielberg, when he makes a historical movie, he does not fuck around.
Yeah, he's pull punches, yeah.
He does not fuck around. If you're not comfortable, he don't care. Because the two World War II-ish movies that he did during the 90s, I can't watch Schindler's List multiple times. I can't watch that movie.
Yeah, it's the 12 Years a Slave of Holocaust movie.
I can't, and listen, I can't watch that be done, and I know that happened. Knowing that happened, I remember that movie was controversial because people wanted to show it. You had teachers that wanted to show it in school, but because there's a lot of things you can't show in there. But they said, you know what? Some people got permissions to show that in school, in all of its whatever. And the one thing was it Ralph Fiennes' character, the one major dude, the one guy who was I just needed him to. Was it Ray? Who was that? Was it Ralph? Who was the guy who played the one dude that was shooting him from the balcony?
Look that up.
Because his character, I wanted to snatch his ass, man.
Yeah.
And he was a personification. There was plenty of SS guys and commanders that were like him, but they couldn't show them all. So they routed all the evil through that guy. And he's sitting out there. He's done banging his girlfriend, and he gets up and sits on the balcony across from the. He's a commandant of the concentration camp. He's sitting across there with a sniper rifle, just picking people off. And there was a guy that did that. Everything that they did, they found the guy that was for it. All these people were hung, of course, but I wasn't going to be satisfied with that movie until they showed me, oh, by the way, this is what happened to this motherfucker. Because they lynched his ass. And when the lady walks up to him, because they're building a foundation and they're doing it wrong, and the lady's like a structural engineer, and she's trying to tell him it's going to fall apart, and he's like, shoot her. And the other guard's like, what are you talking about? She's shoot her on my orders. And then they bend her down, they shoot her point blank, and I'm like, woof. And then he tells the guy who just shot her, now do what she did. And then the guy's looking at him, well, why? He's like, we won't argue. We can't argue with these people. And that guy was like, but that was what was going on during the Holocaust. That was what was happening on a scale that was probably worse than the movie. But Steven Spielberg says, we're going to tell this story or we're not going to tell this story. And I have the utmost respect for that. Same thing with Private Ryan.
Private Ryan, when I was, because I was living over in Italy. For those who don't know, the Army has like a broadcast network called AFN, which is like that's kind of how they broadcast overseas. And
Armed Force Networks, no Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah, they and it's like it's all reruns and stuff, shit like that. It's not, or at least it was when I was over there. It's like reruns of like the Cosby Show and like
Safe,
uh
it's safe shit because it's free.
well, maybe not that anymore, but but
No,
um
never mind.
they they did the like the broadcast for me, like it was the cable broadcast for me or Private Ryan, and the decision they made a specific decision with that, like most movies, it's R rated, if it's bloody and full of F bombs, things like that, you have to edit it for cable, and they made the specific choice for that. It's like, okay, we'll edit for the for profanity, but we're the violence, we're going to keep that. That's just so you take that you take that element out of Private Ryan. It's like you're taking the essence out of, like, you're taking the soul out of it, like what these guys are surviving, through
Yeah,
Private Ryan.
there's a scene in Schindler's List where the camp has gotten overcrowded, so now they have to have these medical examiners come out, and they're choosing who lives and who dies. You go over here, you go over there. I remember I saw somewhere where somebody wanted to show that movie, but they didn't want to show that scene, and they didn't want to show the gas chamber showerish scene. They didn't want to show that, and because of graphic nudity, and can understand that. I don't know how you do that if you're trying to show somebody a reference. I don't know how, because that's what they did. That's what they did. That's how they did it. And Steven Spielberg, I think, stepped in at some point and says, we'll let you show this movie for free or whatever, but you got to show the movie. I made this movie as a conduit to bring that experience in the laps of people who will never, hopefully, never experience something like that. But Schindler's List is a movie I don't watch very often. I don't even watch the scenes very often anymore. I know it's out there. I know it's great. But it's just to see the worst of all humanity, and those people didn't mean shit. They killed people like it was like a video game, and it was just you hear about it in school, and you see those grainy films and stuff.
Yeah, I think I was like in 7th grade when they first started teaching us about the Holocaust.
Yeah,
That was around the time Private Ryan came out.
Yeah, you see these grainy films and the camps being liberated, and that's all you see. And you hear about it, and you hear stories about it. You don't see it like that. You don't see it portrayed as real gunshots taking out real people being piled up, and actors. So as an actor of a character that you got connected with, and then now the next time you see them, they're putting them in the incinerator. It's just the connection he made. He made you watch that movie. If you were going to watch that movie, he was going to put you in there with one of the prisoners. And it was and he did the same thing with Private Ryan. He put you in, whether you were military or not, your ass was on that beach. Mm-hmm. You were doing this when they were blowing all that shit up. I'm like, and I've been near explosions. I've set explosions off. And I'm like, and I don't know how I recovered for the rest of that movie, because remember, that movie's like 2.5 hours long. We're only talking about the first 37 minutes of it. So you got to recover yourself with the movie to watch the rest of the movie. And you're not thinking, how did they recover in real life? I'm like, dude.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like it lets up after that.
When they say that those cats were the greatest generation, the World War II, the people who went to war in World War II, I don't know. I hope we never need to see. I'm pretty sure anybody in any generation, if they're called upon, they could do it. I just hope we never have to, because I don't know, man.
Need to see that kind of bravery again, yeah.
Like I said, 9,000 people on the first day. On the first day, not for the whole mission. 9,000 people. You ran at dawn. By the time nightfall had happened, you lost 9 people on a spot of land. I know it was split up into different beaches, but it's not big enough for 9,000 people to be dying under any other circumstances other than war. So there you go. All right, guys, we kind of went off topic there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Still haven't seen Saving Private Ryan. Forrest Gump. I liked Forrest Gump. I didn't love Forrest Gump. I love the movie he did the year before, Philadelphia. That's another one I can't
The
watch.
hometown movie for me is Forrest Gump. I mean, The Bench is like I could get in the car right now and be down at the bench in like about 20 minutes.
Let's see, William. Ever since Deadpool and Wolverine, when I got showing the spoilers, but still went in like in the movie. That's why I didn't care about spoilers anymore. Yeah, I try. Spoilers don't affect me, but they affect other people. And when it comes to comic books, part of it, I just want you to go to your local comic shop and pick up the book. I can't. I know there are other people out there that review them in detail. I'm not trying to do that. That's why I don't put review anymore. I put we're going to have a discussion about this because I want you, when we're doing these stories, I want you guys to experience for the first time. That's one thing that you can never do again. I don't want to ever take away from somebody is doing something for the first time, whether it's watching a movie, watching a scene, watching something on a show. And I always envy somebody who's headed into it and never seen or read it because I will never get to do that again. So I don't ever want to be the person that I want them to have that revelation. Like I said, there's something at the end that happens in here that I want the reader to experience without me, rolling over it in my Cookie Monster voice. That is your moment, so I don't want to rob you of that moment. But there are people, and I'm one of them, that spoilers don't hurt me. Obviously, most of us knew what was going to happen in No Way Home. I knew what was going to happen in the game. We all knew that, but here's the thing: for some of us, for a lot of us, we all 1.3 or 4 billion worth of people still want to go see that movie. Why? Because even if you know something is going down, it's the execution. It's how it's. We all knew that those three men were going to be in the movie.
Those portals opening and like here's Andrew, here's Toby, and it's like that's. I mean,
how it happens and how they did it, and how having those three people in that movie worked. Their interaction. That's something you can't have spoiled unless you saw the movie. So yeah, I'm with you, but at the same time, I try not to spoil things for people.
Yeah, Aaron. The scenes where he's like on the bench, like telling people his life story that was filmed in downtown Savannah. So again, like I could literally jump in my car right now, late at night, do that. I could get in the car, just drive down there, and like sit on that bench in like 20 minutes if I wanted to.
You need to see Villa. Oh, okay. It's a tough watch. If you've ever lost anyone to a disease and watched them go through it, not only is Tom Cruise going through it, he's going through it while he's fighting for his rights. Philadelphia is about a lawyer that gets when he comes down when he starts showing visible signs of AIDS, they fire him. And so Denzel Washington is his lawyer, and he did. And the best thing about that movie when it comes to the Denzel Washington has to be converted. He's got all the fears of the people that just fired his client, but as he watches this guy fight and go through it, he gets the guts to fight for him, and that's one of the underrated Denzel performances because he's not the star of the movie, but he makes the movie work because he's us. And a lot of people that were sitting in that audience were Denzel Washington because at that time, AIDS was still killing you. It was a death sentence. They hadn't come up with all the treatments and everything else to make having an indefinite life. They didn't have all that. So and as far as how we caught it, we were still working those things out. So Denzel was us, and to have him evolve to the point where not only is he looking past his fears and his discrimination, all that, he's fighting for this guy. And it's not and even as Tom Hanks' character is literally and it's not a spoiler alert, guys. He dies, but it's not knowing that Tom Hanks dies in that movie or dying because he's dying all the way through the movie. That he does not stop fighting until his case is won. He's not even there when his case is won, and it's a big moment. And that is one of the most earned Best Actor Academy Awards I've ever seen. Philadelphia is one, and like I said, it hurts watching. Which war do I find the most fascinating? World War II. World War II. World War II for a lot of different reasons. It is the last modern catastrophe because even with Vietnam and Korea, we lost 418,000 Allied soldiers in World War II. That's a staggering amount. Like I said, we just talked about 9,000 dying on D-Day, on the first day of D-Day. That's staggering to me. You didn't lose that much all the way through most of Afghanistan and Iraq combined. And
I think
then
also World War II. It's like it's the last, certainly American war where there's like, what's the best way to put this? Where the conflict is black and white, and
yeah,
where
there was no gray area.
that's good and evil as is. And it's not to say that there aren't, like, as far as like our role in it, there aren't like blemishes, like like the Japanese internment
There are
camp.
no quagmires. There are no quagmires like Vietnam.
This wasn't like we're not relitigating like Iraq or Vietnam or anything. You don't have
the mass destruction. So.
Yeah, so it's very much. I mean, you're not going to find really anybody who's like looks back on war.
Yeah, after D-Day, and after December 7th, after Pearl Harbor, because prior to that, Roosevelt wanted to get us in because he knew what was happening, but the American people were isolationists. They didn't want another world war. They didn't want to be involved in it, and they erroneously thought that
yeah.
And nobody and Roosevelt knew it. Churchill knew it. They all knew that Hitler was not going to stop. There was no way he could stop. With that, and if Hitler had been able to take over that, let's say he did stop in Europe, there would be like financial ruin and collapse because a lot of your trade, he would control so many trade routes. He could have never let them happen, and Japan wasn't going to stop. They were in the Pacific Theater. All the reasons for them, if they had, if we hadn't got involved in that war, remember after they attacked Pearl Harbor, they were on a roll. They went through the Philippines. They were on a roll until the Doolittle raid.
And then it's like we get it, had Pearl Harbor happen. Like what was it, like 5 days later? Like Germany like just walks right up to the capital and says, "Okay,
yeah," which was stupid.
We're going too.
That is because what had happened is Roosevelt declared war on the Empire of Japan. He explicitly did not declare war on Germany because he knew that he would not have the people behind him. When Hitler declared war on us, everybody was like, "Well, fuck it. We're not just going to stand here and let him come. He's told us what he's got to do. Here we come." That was the dumbest thing Hitler did. Other than that, not listening to his generals. That was the dumbest thing because you know what? Us defeating Japan would have necessarily meant that we would have entered the European theater. Yeah. That would have been a harder argument. But once he declared war, he's like, "Fuck it."
And Hitler, I mean, you can write. They have written books on like how many tactical blunders he made.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we've covered a lot.
We got one more real quick. Yeah, would you be down for a K-pop Demon Hunter watch along?
Sure. I'm not into that stuff, but I think it would do good numbers.
Who are so?
Yeah, I think it would do good numbers for us. I think it would attract viewers. So,
Jose, I love this. Because I remember my dad telling me the story when I was a kid. Hitler tried to invade Russia back right too. Yeah, lost a lot of men because like you're invading Mother Russia in the dead of winter. Oh, gee, wonder what's going to happen.
He didn't realize this how, and you know what? There was a time there after Barbarossa, Operation Barbarossa, which is what the operation was called, to where he had Stalin on the ropes until what's that general? His main general, said, "You gotta snap out of this. We need you to lead." It was I forgot to do. He's a famous general. He's one of the only ones that he didn't kill. And he snapped him out of it. He's like, they're coming. They're on their way. They've broken our lines. They're going through. We're losing people. What do you want us to do? We need to rally. And remember, Stalin was a piece of shit that was killing his own people at a massive scale. But they united. That united them. See, Hitler thought, you know what? We're just going to go in there, wipe anything out. They're not going to take us. And then Stalin, the one thing he was able to do, and his generals is the ones who he could trust was the rally, not just the army, the people, because remember the people fought a lot of that war, because they had made it all the way through Stalingrad. They had made it all the way through. They had made it deep into Russian territory. I'm trying to figure out that.
Yeah, but it's like, and then when did they go into Russian territory? Dead of winter.
41.
Whoops.
They went in right. They went in the fall, but Zhukov, Georgy Zhukov, considered Stalin's best and most effective general during World War II, often called the savior of the Soviet Union. As Marshal of the Soviet Union, he orchestrated critical victories at Moscow, Stalingrad, Kursk, and the final march on Berlin. Other top commanders included, I can't pronounce his name, but Zhukov was the one who had the strategic vision. He also had the vision to get Moscow from thinking, hey, we're just living under, Stalin's, boot into, we're fighting for Mother Russia. So Zhukov was that was his name. All right, guys. That's the last one. Okay, so all right, cool. So we're at about 3 hours. Ugh, okay. We will be back tomorrow. Brad's got an article. He's gonna older article. He's gonna throw at you.
Yeah, I wrote it back in September. It's like I felt like I should have brought this up way back then, but it's like it just like fits with like a lot of the stuff we've talked about here recently. So I thought it'd be a good one to do a rundown on.
All right, that is it. I've done my job. This was a true overnighter. I have left February 15th, and we have wandered into 14th, Valentines Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And we have wandered into February 15th. We are officially
also actually my sister's birthday, not Aaron.
Your actual sister.
Not Australian.
Thank you for joining us on this very odd show, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. If you want to extend the conversation after you've liked, after you subscribed, after you've hit the alert bell, leave a comment. I'll answer it. I don't care if you come at me. Just come at me in a way that we can still carry on the conversation. I don't need that. But if you disagree with me on anything that we said here tonight, I'm all for it. Let's go. That's what the conversation is.
If you shoot any AI of William and I, just to be kind enough to DM it to us directly before you put it on Twitter.
I don't know how much more, but I can't. I don't know if I can take some of that shit anymore.
The fourth is open the floodgates. I know it.
And like I said, it didn't even have my bolt. All right, guys, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow night at 10:30 for the weekend wrap up. For anything else beyond Brad's article that we have not discussed, I don't think we left too much on the bone tonight. But if we did, we will cover it tomorrow at the wrap up show, 10:30 Pacific time. See y'all then.
See you guys.